an atheist Jew.
Sure,
No,
but
that's
like the
not.
way you said it, I could
Who's
hear
Jonathan
like
Goldstein?
I could hear the triple parentheses around it.
Oh.
Nah, just because I was thinking about if you ever listen to Jonathan Goldstein, he's the best storyteller ever. He's a Canadian writer. He used to have a radio show in Canada years ago, and he wrote a book and did books on tape of. It's called "Ladies and Gentlemen, the Bible." It's retellings of Bible stories. If you look up This American Life, like if this ark is a rock, and you can hear him tell the story, but it's really interesting because like he does these retellings and like the way he describes Noah hearing God's voice is like I don't know. It's just one of my favorite versions of it, where it's like because. I mean, I don't know. You have to hear it because it's kind of humorous, but like the idea is because like in the story, like Noah's just a cantankerous old guy because like he's the only 400-year-old person. He's like, all these young people don't know how to live, you know, and it's brilliant. But like, and the thing is, just talks about how like just this little voice that's constantly talking behind it, you know, and like it's like kind of figure like, oh, that's like the most believable version of what it would be like to hear God as anything I've ever heard. Anyway.
He wrote that new Dungeons and Dragons. That one was pretty good.
What?
Jonathan Goldstein?
Oh, he did?
Is that... Wait. No, that can't be the same guy.
Look up a different... Jonathan Goldstein filmmaker on Wikipedia.
Is that the same guy?
Gotta be different, dude.
I mean, there's...
I mean, I would be shocked if there's two Jonathan Goldsteins in the world. There it is. Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves. Game Night, which was pretty funny.
Oh, that's it. No, that's a different guy.
Different guy.
This is an American. My Jonathan Goldstein is Canadian.
What? I thought I said Canadian.
Not Mike Goldstein.
No, but this is definitely not Mike Goldstein. How many Jews are in the show business? Come on.
Well,
but
a
wow,
lot of Jonathan Goldstein.
There's an actor, Jonathan Goldstein. There's so many Jonathan Goldsteins. No, this Jonathan Goldstein is he's kind of famously boring. I don't know.
This guy, Jonathan.
No.
Goldstein. American Canadian author, humorist.
That's the guy. That's my Jonathan Goldstein. Like that's a very appropriate picture of him.
Hung out with Ira Glass and
yeah. No, he used to be. Yeah, I don't know. It's like 15. I think it was like 2005 when I was working. I was doing roadside assistance and working all night and just listening to the radio at like 10 o'clock at night on NPR. Like I heard. Like, you know, I was confused because I'm like, this sounds like a radio call-in advice show. Like this seems weird for NPR. And then something happened that was the funniest thing in the world. And then I found out that it was just this show. And he had a show called Wiretap. And the idea was that like he had like his friends and family were played by his actual friends and family. And they were semi-fictionalized version of himself. And the whole idea was that it was just recordings of his phone calls. And then this was interspersed with interviews and original stories and all this crap. Best damn show ever. Wiretap, CBC. Better than our show.
I really struggle and always did struggle listening to Ira Glass. I thought he just had the most, I don't know what you call it, blue pilly voice on the planet, you know. This is Ira Glass.
Yeah, I already know.
Yeah, a little bit.
The second you said that, I was like, I know what this guy sounds like.
You know,
Casper Hauser.
No
there's a defunct comedy group. I think they're defunct. Casper Hauser comedy group. But they put out a couple of parody This American Lives, and they're pretty funny. They hit the nail on the head.
I remember those guys. What up, Maple Lake Mountain? Some people just trickling in because we're so on time.
Comments. Wet poop.
So, what'd y'all do this week before we start talking Mormon-y stuff?
Listen to dumb Mormon-y stuff.
I read like 10 chapters of a degenerate book.
I can't believe how fast you're blowing through that.
It's so the thing is, it's so inane and stupid and full of language that I'm just used to hearing constantly that I can listen to it on double time and I can absorb it while doing anything. So I just put on while I was doing work. Like that's how stupid it is. I can just do my work accurately and absorb all of it.
Because and the way it makes sense, it's like it seems to have total self-awareness. Because it's a book that was it New York Times or New York Post? Who was it that had an article? Like, hey, this woman wrote a book about.
I'll pull her up.
This lady wrote a book about becoming polyamorous. She listened to Natasha Helfer and Sam and Kara, and it's like you say, the whole book seems to be total lack of self-awareness. She's like, well, I bang a bunch of guys who don't care about me and leave me unsatisfied. Aren't I great? This is
You know,
really
she
working
gets
out.
mad about it. Like,
Yeah.
it's the
She's like,
funniest
yeah.
shit to see. Some of the
Here she
highlights.
Whoa, here she comes. She's a man eater. Did you hear that Hall and Oates sued each other and have a restraining order against each other?
Wait, really?
Yeah.
So,
How
there's Hall
polyamorous
versus Oates. Is that going to be the biopic on them? The biopic on them is Hall versus Oates. It'll just be about. It'll just culminate
You
in
already
the trial.
thought you have a crossover thinking with Dave Landau because he already made a skit about that. Yeah.
Oh, I should write
How
for
a
those.
polyamorous mom had a big sexual adventure and found herself.
Yeah, and she found that she's miserable and should have stayed monogamous. That's what
She
she
sounds
found
like
out.
so. There's not a character on Sex and the City that's like married with kids, is there?
What? Yeah.
Oh, is there? I don't know. That's her. That's who she is. Like the very little bit of Sex in the City that I've seen is just her.
I've never watched the show, but I imagine that they're all canonically married with kids, but the show like just is totally uninterested in the lives of their husbands and children.
Well, it's worse than that. The one who's actually like became a New York politician in real life in that show, after she's had, back in the 90s, she had like a whole story arc with this whole lovey story of getting married to this guy finally, and they had a kid. Well, in the reboot, she decided she's a lesbian and she just left him, and everybody's just supposed to say, wow, it's great that you left all of them for being a lesbian. That's great,
I just imagine I don't know if you remember in the Mormon episode of All About Mormons episode of South Park, when they're introducing the Mormon family and they're going down to younger and younger, and it goes like the toddler with the binky and pulls out the binky and goes, "Hello, Stan," like in a perfect grown-up voice.
Yeah.
I just imagine a 2-year-old going like, "Good for you, Mom. Bless it out. I couldn't be happier for you."
You're only allowed to cheer for him, but the whole show acted like that. Nobody is supposed to act like, and they honestly, I think after backlash from the fans, they waited all the way to the second season to act like that husband that they'd all grown to love and like and whatever needed any sort of arc or addressing as having been had a hard time with the situation.
See, this is a problem with sharing an Audible account with your wife. Is that this shit pops up and then she's like, "Why the fuck did you order a book on an open marriage?" I'm okay. It's an idea. Maybe we could open our marriage. Maybe we're part of the 8% that doesn't get divorced from it. Come on. What do we have to lose other than our marriage and family?
I think you would have gotten less of a reaction if you like just bought porn, like fetish porn. She'd be like, "Oh,
this is porn."
But,
no,
but yeah,
most of this
but
is
instead you
just
bought
porn.
this crazy shit, and she's like, "What are you doing?"
No, I know. It's this seriously is porn. It's woman porn because, like, sometimes she'll talk about what's going on in her life, but then she like goes into great detail about, and then he came down my throat.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
She's very graphic in her descriptions.
So, like it's 50 Shades of Grey, but less fantastical and,
it is.
and
Well,
more
it's hilarious.
like
She has no idea that
historical.
she's a piece of shit because, like, the first guy that she fucks is like, he's in a committed relationship. Like, she has permission from her husband's this weird cuck that like talked her into it. It's like, "Want to go fuck other guys? Do you want to go fuck other guys, maybe?" And eventually she does it with this guy, and she has this moment where she's like, I don't know, is this a good idea? Or, I mean, I don't know why I'm struggling with shame here. I know why he shouldn't do it because he'd be cheating on his girlfriend, but I don't know why I shouldn't do it. Maybe because he'd be cheating on his girlfriend. How is that not like? How do you not think that it's a bad thing for you to fuck a guy in a committed relationship? Like, you could say that he's worse, but that you're splitting hairs at that point between a bastard and a homewrecker. Like, and then it's funny because she meets in the first part of the book, she meets most of her guys through an Ashley Madison profile.
That's so wild.
An Ashley Madison
Like
profile.
literally everybody in that was a bot. Like she's the only non-bot.
Yeah, she's the only real woman. And all the men that meet her are like really shocked too. They're like, "Wow, you're real." And anyway, it's funny because she like looks down on all these men. Like, yeah. He's an adulterer. He's just like, yeah, you're fucking him. You're fucking you're helping a man cheat. And it's great because eventually she deletes the Ashley Madison profile. And it's not because she had some come to Jesus moment where she's like, you know what? It's probably bad to fuck monogamous married men. No, it's because maybe this polyamorous dating site, I will run into guys who actually care about me. It's the most self-centered book I've ever read. It's insane.
And didn't she say also, like, because she somewhere in the book she lays out the Natasha Halfer, the secret to not feeling bad for things you did is to just not feel bad.
Oh
and
yeah,
then
she's
it's okay because you just don't feel
That's how you
bad,
do
and then
it.
it's okay that you did the horrible thing that made you feel bad.
Well, she's got
So,
she's got this terrible therapist that's like teaching her how to fuck a bunch of people.
Well, here's the New York Post pushing it at the same time. Did you see the video that was on this at the start of it? It already moved on to another one, but it was maybe I should reopen it just to see the video because it was ridiculous. It says here, these are some of the reasons you have a curious mind. That's one reason. This, like, when I listen to these, I think it might as well be like a horoscope because, like, everybody listens.
Oxygen.
That's me. Like, other people give you energy. That's me.
Wait a minute.
Me.
What are you talking about? You're just describing a social creature.
Yeah.
The connection is strong with your partner. Well, it's not strong, but I don't want to say that it isn't. So, I mean, it wouldn't be. I want to say it's strong. So, yeah, that's a me. There's a distance in the bedroom. Oh,
Wait a minute.
no.
What? Hang on a second, because don't those two negate each other? Like, here's some reasons you should fuck other people. 1, your marriage is great. 2, your marriage is shit. Those are two reasons you.
You don't think of it as. Why is the New York Post writing about this? And this is ostensibly like a news thing.
It's also like a non-article. You're right. It's like a horoscope. It's like saying you're underestimated by those around you. I am underestimated by those around me.
Do you remember that? I've been bitching about that TV show Julia Childs, but 10 years ago there was that show Julie and Julia that starred Meryl Streep as Julia Childs, and the woman who was Julie in that show, her name is Julie Powell. And if you ever watched that movie and saw like the cute, real little relationship that they had, where she cooked like all those days for her husband and compared herself to Julia Childs all through it. Well, her follow-up book was basically that same book, Cleaving: A Story of Marriage, Meat, and Obsession. And she talked, like, you go through that whole movie about that struggles that they had as like a young couple, and then she writes a cuck novel right afterwards.
She died?
What? She died?
I didn't realize she died. Yeah, look right there. She died a year ago.
Holy crap. At 49 after battling COVID-19?
Oh, COVID was real.
Well, it was cardiac arrest, so she's probably battling the vaccine.
That's what it sounds like. Cardiac arrest and COVID-19 is probably battling some sort of, I don't know, orgy with a blood orgy with a bunch of, what the hell, dude? That's crazy.
And all these stories, like, really are just like, have sex with your cake and hate yourself for it too. Like, that's
and hate yourself.
Like,
well, the thing is,
you're gonna have it all, everybody.
You're gonna feel shame when you fuck somebody that you're not committed to, especially if they're committed to somebody else. And it's funny because anytime she feels that shame, she's just like, "Damn, that conditioning is strong." I remember explaining that to one of my friends. I explained that to one of my friends. I was like,
"Gotta beat this."
I was trying to tell him, like, this was years ago. I was like, you know what? I'm not on board with like porn and stuff, because he was talking about how it's great to be ex-Mormon because you can drink alcohol and look at porn and stuff like that. And I was like, you know, I try not to look at porn. I think it's probably mostly bad. And he's like, that's
Kevin
just the Mormon
wanted to
conditioning.
Tag that into the diet challenge. He wanted to say, hey, how about you guys try this? I got to check and see how his diet is going on.
Oh, hell yeah. We tag that into the life challenge is what I should do.
But I would have thought that would have been part of being temple-ish for a month anyway, wouldn't it have been?
Yeah. Again, I'm not paying tithing.
Oh, yeah. I don't think anybody's keeping that in the bargain. I don't know. I haven't heard from Kevin.
Yeah, I don't think you have to worry about it.
What am I on right there? Oh, this is
great.
Jared's ad. If you want to read it.
I don't know he needs to hear this, but tired cliche. Just know that you're board sweeping platitude. It's okay to verb so much, and remember that all you need is tagline I heard from a Nike commercial pretending to be sage wisdom. I love that shit because it's just this is like life coach Mad Libs.
Yeah. Oh, and that guy, internet historian, he's great. He does like little documentaries on stuff on the YouTube, and he's amazing. He does such fantastic work. Like he did this little 45-minute documentary about the Costa Concordia disaster, which is like, you think like, yeah, how interesting can that be? And like, I've watched it 3 times. It is so wonderfully done and really an interesting story. Remember that
I'll
about 10
check
years
it out.
ago?
You sent it to me. But...
Yeah.
Link, I'd have to watch it.
Yeah, like, I don't know if
sure
you
it's
remember
just
that,
business.
the Italian ocean, the cruise liner that sank on the rocks.
You don't know.
No, I don't remember.
It's a
Here's
it's a
the
great story.
here's the Hall
You're
Notes
not supposed to
biopic
be
by
anywhere
David
near
Lynch.
me.
What I want, you've got. And it might be hard to handle.
Hello?
My friends wonder why I call you all the time. These private eyes are watching you. Watching you. Watching you. Watching you. Watching you.
Nah, it's more just 3 minutes back. So what is that story of the Concordia?
Like, it was like
You
10
just
years
watch.
ago. Is the whole thing where, like, because the ocean liner hit some rocks and grounded on the rocks, and like I think a couple dozen people died. And then like as bits by bits, it all came out. Like there was this whole crazy thing where like the captain of the ship, like, had started out as a security guard for the company, and somehow and inexplicably, like in a short amount of time, got promoted to captain. And like apparently the whole thing was that he was doing like he was trying to do this. I forget what it's called, but it's like you sail past closer to an island, and so the people can see the sand. But like he was being an idiot and he crashed the ship. And then like that's the other thing is he like abandoned ship before the ship was clear of passengers, and then he lied about it. Like he changed his clothes, and then there's all this whole thing that is like his girlfriend was on the bridge, and like and as the story came out, like everything it became this whole big fascinating thing with all these layers of strangeness. It was really fascinating. And then that guy, the internet historian, I think he's just some English guy. He's blessed with like just one of those voices. Like you can just listen to the guy talk about anything for any amount of time. He's just like
English,
so
right?
charming and good. Yeah, it depends on the English.
Hawkish Owl 2020 says he just saw a thumbnail from Matt Walsh on why is the media pushing polyamory. So it's not just us noticing it, eh?
Oh yeah, you want the
I didn't
answer?
even see that video yet.
The answer is, and I'm going to sound like a boomer Christian here, but because there's a fucking devil and he wants you to divorce your wife.
I mean, there's weirdo elitists who want you to not have kids and to break up your family because it's overpopulation, and any push towards anything that pushes away from that helps. But Satan,
obviously they're
that's the
weirdo
answer. That's
elitists,
the same
but they
answer.
worship Satan.
Yes,
They do it
But Satan has
ironically,
taught them
but
to think that way.
also they do it ironically so much that they're like, okay, how ironically can you do things before you're just doing the things?
Yeah. It's
yeah. So Mormon stuff this week. What's on your Mormony minds? I got a bunch of Mormony things to pull, but I wonder what
there's
you
that
guys
guy, the freaking bishop guy. Like, is there any doubt
think. I
now
found his
that the whole thing
TikTok
was
channel,
just
and
PR?
I think he's a bozo.
I kind of tried to defend him for a bit because I was like, I don't know, maybe
I'm sure he's going through an angry phase, but
yeah, I know, but I was like, maybe his brother, maybe his brother's the one that pushed him into it because he's more ex-Mormon. He's the one. His brother's the one that taped it and the one that is like posting on ex-Mormon all the time. But like, I don't know.
watch this video. Watch this.
Like, I'm like you. I wanted to give the guy the benefit of the doubt. I wanted to give him all the benefit of the doubt, but I just it's too calculated.
And there's one on his TikTok that his wife did, and she sounds
the shirtless bathroom. Shirtless
sounds
bathroom.
like
He's
Bishop
in the
wife.
tub.
Ew.
Oh God.
His most recent one, although talked about the Gulag Archipelago, and that he read the whole thing, and it talked about Orwell. And I'm like, man, I think because I'm like kind of catching the only people reading Gulag Archipelago these days are people who are picking that up from Jordan Peterson.
I know.
and
Yeah.
the also like mention Orwell, but at the same time, he just seems like scrambled with all the different things. But so listen to this one. I mean,
You know, this is weird. I'm in a bath.
Beat up TikTok. I'm in a bath.
And I had this thought to do this video.
You were prompted by the spirit of empathy.
Fuck.
Listen to that. That's the guy who was a bishop last week.
Joseph Smith knew what the hell he was doing.
Whoa!
You can tell swearing is new to him, though.
He said he's on a bunch of
He
edibles.
wrote a
too.
freaking book.
Oh, Jesus.
It took years and years for him to study the Bible well enough to know how he could write a book that would align so perfectly
This poor
with a
guy.
narrative that people would follow.
He talks like he's,
God,
like
he's
in
so
general
bishop.
conference. He does
Yeah, no,
general
this-
conference talks still.
This is
He had
preaching. This isn't your
years.
thoughts. You are preaching.
Every one of his channels is general
He
conference.
published that
talks.
book.
Basically.
So wait, like he's high right now?
I can't remember how many
Yeah, he
copies.
says it. Listen.
It was 1,000 or 5,000.
You might have already said it.
Nonetheless, he published it to sell it simply as a novel.
He didn't want to sell it as a novel.
He had no idea what would happen.
Yeah, I mean, why would he tell everybody that an angel gave it to him if it was just a novel?
But when he started to see it,
Something tells me you rehearsed this before he said it.
he let the ego eat him.
Yeah, he's high.
I think he already
And
said
with
it.
that power,
I was just like, I hate this because like it gives a bad name to doing drugs.
you know,
Well,
I don't like-
that's all Mormons who go and find alcohol.
You
and
know,
weed. Listen, he preaches right at the
this
beginning.
is weird. I'm in a bath, and I had this thought to do this video.
I don't think he said it.
No, I don't think so.
Fuck.
Dude, the music,
Smith.
like he's editing, he's doing
The book
post production and
aligned
adding music. You
so
fucking
perfectly
hack.
with a narrative that people would follow.
Music?
Didn't I hear it? Maybe I hallucinated.
He
that.
says it. No, he says that he's on
He had
a couple
years.
of
Oh,
I
yeah.
hear it. I heard it earlier.
And he published that
I just
book.
wish it would come quicker. Every time we watch him, we want
I
him to
can't
hustle.
remember how many copies. Of it.
I know.
Thousands,
You know, like, yeah, that's like
thousands.
Quadruple time
Nonetheless,
function on.
he
You're not
published it
Mormon. You don't have
sell
to
it
talk so slow
simply
anymore.
Dude, there's a
as
speed button.
novel.
Where? Oh yeah, is
You
that
see how-
skip or does it? Oh sweet,
He had no idea what would happen.
TikTok's
When he started to see
in
it,
the future.
he let the ego eat him. And with that power,
Why not wait till after the
he don't
tub?
eat it.
Because he's high.
He was in a
Joseph
hurry. It
Smith.
was time. It had
Doesn't
to
know how to
happen.
make good decisions while high.
It's
He's-
time.
Y'all, this
You
is
got-
what I get.
Listen,
This is me. Fucking having a day. Processing. How I never saw this. Y'all, I was a freaking scholar. I knew
What
it
did he
so
say?
well.
I know he says it.
And I didn't know that I was in a bottomless pit to hell.
Maybe he said it on the other video that. But I
It
know
never
he
ends
says
that
on
way.
edibles.
It's always never enough. I learned I had enough in me to just be good enough for once. And it wasn't that thing that Joseph created. I climbed above it. I saw it for what it was.
Wow.
And my heart is
No
breaking.
way.
Not for any other reason than I've recognized that for 42 years, I have betrayed my soul with that garbage.
Dude, I didn't listen to this
And now
part
for the first time in
twice.
my life, it's like tasting food or drinking something and recognizing how wonderful it is and how it's a gift that I get to have right fucking now. It's not evil. It is to be like God, to live with pure agency, but in that agency to have nothing but good intent.
I don't understand. Leaving the
Just
church to become a religious
See,
nut
recognize
job.
those who-
But isn't that what we're saying? Most people do.
I've been seen.
Yeah, like that whole thing is like
I see you.
you could have just been a regular Mormon dude, and now
Remember,
you're a
there's
kook.
We're here for you,
But now I can do
marginalized.
edibles and I don't.
for the women, for the young women, for the primary kids. We're
Well,
here for you.
someone think of the primary.
I'm here
kids.
for you, primary
LGBTQ.
kids. I'm here for you
I've
in
got
the
a story
tub.
acronym.
Okay, you're right. He's a hack. I'm done
You were-
defending him.
Yeah, no,
always
it's,
been enough.
it's too gross. But like, I mean, I'm surprised he hasn't been announced on the Lin yet.
I'm gonna get myself
When's
Oh,
that
they
gonna
said
happen?
they want to get him on.
I believe we need justice and compassion.
They said on that other one that
pity.
I'm going to pull up because they went over quick media.
Dude, I bet you, like, yeah, they would probably pay
Now,
for
for all
Brian
the people who
Pickett
think
to
I'm
get him in the
crazy and
studio.
Want to
For
say
their
bad things to me?
501c3.
Look, I hear you. I
They
love
have
you too.
They do have transcripts.
And you know,
TikTok
Grant
has joined the
Cardone says
future.
if you got 10 haters, get 20. You need haters. Well, I don't.
Well, we got 3 right here,
I
pal.
don't think he's necessarily right there. But I hear you. It is what it is. I would say this. Wayne Dyer once said, change the way you ask a question to transform the answers you get in life. So instead of asking the same questions that you've been told to ask, change the question. Ask what your heart is telling you to ask, rather than what someone else is telling you to ask.
I feel like
My
I'm looking
heart
into
is
your mirror,
asking
man.
me
I'm
to
looking
turn
into your
your shit
mirror.
off.
Look at me.
You'll get compassion.
Look at me.
You'll get love. Because again, love is what
You
creates
guys are
ultimate
twinsies right now.
Yeah.
So what do you say? Love is what creates
Well,
what?
Muslim or Buddhist. Gay or
He's
straight.
quoting Orwell from the start
Good
that they
I don't care if you're
can't
devil, if you do
deal
terrible,
with
terrible things.
love. Or
Look, I got a bone to pick. There's no question with those kinds of things. But even you have an opportunity to be loved.
What he's doing is spending 4.5 minutes saying nothing.
Yeah, no, like seriously, it's so much like church. I mean, I get tired of saying it, but like, because we keep saying like it's just church again, guys. It's the church of not church. How do you not see this?
I swear on my life, if I do Control F, it goes to full screen instead of searching for a word.
Huh.
Is there another way to search for a word? Anyway, just trust me.
I don't
He
know how
claimed
that
he was
works.
on edibles in that tub somewhere. You can
Well, he's
find
getting
it.
hit by everything right away. See, my only real sympathy is that, like, I think about it often. Like, I remember when I first left the church, we were, playing a bunch of music. I was writing a bunch of angry at God songs and shit like that are cringy and hell. And
Stupid God, you're such a jerk.
yeah, and I remember, like, when Tyler Glenn left, I was like, oh man, I wish I were famous when I left the church. I could have done some shocking shit. And then I watched his stuff and I was like, oh my God, I'm glad I'm not famous. Because if I were famous, I would have, we would be watching reruns of my cringy bullshit tonight.
You did some stuff like this?
No, I'm saying that I would have been like, if I were like a famous musician.
Oh yeah,
church,
yeah. No,
I would have written some terribly cringy songs about it, and hopefully I would have gotten out of it at some point, but probably not.
If I didn't go to grad school, just like
smoke up your ass.
That Thomas Sowell quote says, the privilege of going to Harvard is learning that you no longer need to be impressed with anybody from Harvard.
Yes.
And I know that, like, I would think totally different of what colleges and grad schools are and still are if I didn't get to go see firsthand what a load of bupkis it was.
There was a thing that, like, over decades with me is like my slow disillusionment with higher learning is like, because like I'd get older and go to parties and meet stuff, and I knew a lot of smart people and meet a lot of PhDs and a lot of professors and all this stuff. And like, the first one I'm like, oh, you must be an anomaly that you're as stupid as you are, But then, like, like I said, because like, I think like this was true about 10 years ago that I remember, like, that 4 different people, 3 PhDs and a master's degree between them, told me to my face in these exact words. And it was the fact that they used the exact same words. Like, that was part of my cluing into what was going on, is they say, well, you're not Latino because you haven't experienced racism, And like, 'cause, like, the first time I heard that, I'm like, okay, well, you're just retarded. The second time I heard it, I'm like, well, wait, you guys didn't even go to the same school, right? The third time, I'm like, hang on. And by the fourth time, I'm like, oh, okay, it's the schools, it's the universities. This idea is not an anomaly. Like, you are being taught this, and you are repeating what you've learned. Like, okay.
I am more than positive. I play in a band. I posted this stuff on the Longhouse, but
yeah, that show is good.
I'll tell you, if that had gotten Imagine Dragons big, and I didn't go to college and see the goofiness, and I left the church, I think I still would have ended up leaving the church or whatever. I totally could have been that guy, and that's Jared said himself, that's shadow work right there. Like,
and that's fucking shadow work, is realizing the difference between you and Dan Reynolds might just be luck.
Yeah, look, Forrest noticed that he looks just like me. Yeah, I'm feeling it. I'm looking at that guy and going, oh, whoops, I could have been this dude.
It's just not, well, you're not quite empathetic enough, but
yeah, that's true. And I also was always hyper aware of conference voice. Like I always
know.
was like, I'm not going to be doing any of this. This isn't me. I can't do this. I'll never do this. Sorry. Could try, but it just doesn't fit me. Sorry.
Yeah, I did get shit at in my mission for making fun of conference voice. So I definitely never would have done conference voice.
Let's see. Troy says it's just you, Forrest. The real Chris wears glasses the size of wagon wheels. Yeah, I asked them because I went in once and they tried to say make me look trendy with these small glasses and I couldn't see anywhere around because I have such terrible vision. So I just went back in and said, "Give me the goddamn giant clown glasses so I can see everything." Risto's first. Maple Lake Mountain's cringing, but he's been there. Oh, I mean, yeah, I guess we got to let the guy cringe through. If the guy's talking Gulag Archipelago and all that stuff, although we saw that other video with him talking to a trans person who said someday the church is going to let gay marriage in. They're going to be okay with trans people. And you want to know what? We will say no. And I'm like, well, you're giving it away right there that there is no redemption that you'll offer them. I mean, why would you not offer them an off-ramp to your worldview or something like that?
I remember I had that realization that I think I've talked about it before on here, where one of my managers at Wendy's, I was bitching about, like, it was the City Creek Mall, and I still don't like the City Creek Mall. It feels too decadent and stuff like that. But I was, what I was trying to explain to my manager, I was like, well, they could have used that on charity or whatever. It's like they do a lot of charity. And I was like, yeah, but they could do more because this. I just wanted to be mad at the church. And when I realized that he said, okay, well, how much charity work could they do before you would be satisfied? Like, how much money would they have to spend on it? And that's when I realized I was like, oh, I just want this thing to burn down. That's all it is.
No.
There's nothing that could redeem them to me right now. And that's kind of a problem.
I mean, I don't, because this is the fight I've been having for a long time, and especially in the last few weeks. But I've been keep asking people. I just had it with frickin' Sam. I commented on her dumb video. To her credit, she actually answered.
What?
Yeah, no, because I made the joke about you should try life coaching the homeless. and to her credit, like, it's funny because like she's like, well, I don't think that homelessness is such a simple problem that it could be helped with life coaching. And I'm just like, oh, you don't say.
Me neither.
You don't say. So then that's things I asked her, okay, so then what should they do? And of course I got no answer because that's things everybody knows that it's a canard. Is that the name of this argument? It's like I just part of this whole thing about like we need to save the homeless. It just makes me crazy is that there are empty beds in every homeless shelter in Salt Lake County. Every food bank in Salt Lake County throws food away. There are drug clinicians that just wish clients would come for help. Like this idea that people are homeless, A, because society put them there, and B, because there's simply no one who wants to help. Like I don't know how you can't walk around planet Earth and not understand what a stupid lie that is, Because also just the thing about like the mall, the City Creek Mall is like, as somebody who's lived in downtown Salt Lake City for 15 years, fucking mall is a godsend. Downtown Salt Lake City was getting shitty.
Yes,
it was getting run down and shitty, and that mall absolutely revitalized it. And that's the other thing. I like this whole idea where it's like people like they spent money on the mall, and they don't seem to understand. Like, yeah, it's an investment, and see, they spent $4 billion to lay all this groundwork, so now businesses can come in and produce things. And that
includes black and brown businesses, by the way.
Because in your head, if they just spent $4 billion on quote unquote homeless services, which really would have just 99.9% of that money you would burning it for heat for the homeless would do more help than whatever you think spending it would do. I'm not kidding about that.
Well, plus if they took that $4 billion and they instead put it toward charity or whatever, I know the immediate thing that would happen is like, well, let's see, what percentage of 100 trillion or whatever we're up to now is 4 billion? Oh, really? They expect me to donate 10% of my income, but they can't donate 10% of theirs to the homeless.
Yeah,
So
like I was talking to some ex-Mormons about this very thing, and I was trying to also just explain the whole thing. Like, the church is prudent with their money, and one of the things is that when they give to charity, they're not doing it like unlike all the people complaining, all the corporate Walmarts of the world that literally do charity for nothing, like they are buying goodwill for it. The church does charity out of religious reasons, and they want to get their money's worth. Like that's part of the thing that people don't understand. It's like, what, the church only spent this on this? It's like, yeah, because they had a whole team of people look into it and say, how can we get our value out of this? How can we spend our money in a way that we will get a return? Because that seems like these people, like they, again, like, I mean, I'm not kidding. Like the way they think about charitable spending is like the way Buddhists think about burning money. Like it's literally a sacrifice to the ether that makes you feel better about yourself because you did something, even though like, again, like the homeless people on the street, there isn't a dollar amount that can be spent that will fix their problem. Like it's just not a money issue.
There's got to be, because we already figured out that 44 billion would cure world hunger.
Oh, that's right.
That's
only
scientific consensus. All the experts agree on that.
It's only 4 billion. That's literally all it would take to save planet Earth.
Oh, I thought it was 44 billion or something.
Oh, no, it's just 4 billion.
Oh.
Like that's buying everybody a Happy Meal tonight, and that'll solve it.
I know. Is that what they were saying? Like,
that's literally like that's the math. Like that's like we're not joking. That's how stupid that these calculations are.
I know. When the first person who said that, I was like, wait, what do you mean? Like, would $4 billion?
Remember, it was somebody in Congress or something who thought that like that would be the amount of money that would be like $1 million for each person. Their math was off by several zeros. I can't remember who it was.
Oh, that's happened about 1 million times. They'll be like, Elon Musk has $100 billion, and he could give everybody in America $1 billion.
Yeah. So this video here, he doesn't even talk at all. He just listens to this person talk about.
I hate it so much. I hate it so much. Regardless of
here's something about me you may not all know. I think I've mentioned on here before, but after I went to a grad school and learned all the queer theories and all that sort of stuff, I spent 2 years. You can ask my friend who went with me, going to the basement of Sam Weller's bookstore downtown Salt Lake every Wednesday or something and listen to queer readings of different queer theorists around Salt Lake. And I sat there like this guy and went and listened to him like I'm trying to get this stuff. And then after a while, I realized that I was the person who was only supposed to be there to performatively put on that face. Like I'm there for a performance for them. And nothing I could say or do or whatever would be anything except I was just supposed to sit there and listen to them gripe like I had been the one to have done whatever the world had done to them or something like that. And I was like, this sucks. And but I went for quite a while. I read quite a few stupid books because if you get past the major works, there's infinity in one minor stupid works, and they suck. But you can sit there and listen and put on that like empathetic face and all that sort of stuff. Maybe it works to get you some TikTok subscribers and some monies from that. But what you gonna do? But I hate to tell you, the Midnight Mormons, I don't think that dude's too, I don't know, I can't tell, but he doesn't seem too conservative. We were kind of hopeful that maybe there was another, I don't know what we even call ourselves, non-progressive, whatever. Maybe he is. I don't know what his politics are. He probably just
Nazi, I think, is what we call ourselves.
Oh, that's right, yes.
What are we?
Pretty sure. Nazi.
Well, I hate homeless. Yes. I hate homeless. I've been told that.
You do hate homeless because you what do you feel about anti-homeless architecture, huh? About that.
Laws targeting homelessness. You hear about that, laws targeting homelessness?
You mean like when they put like I love the architecture where they're like they put a armrest in the middle of the bench so a homeless man can't sleep in it. That's so hateful.
They get together, they go to their country club and they sip their champagne and they eat their caviar and they're like, what can we do to target homeless? And somebody's like, I know. Let's make it a law that you can't shit on a sidewalk. That'll show them. That'll show those homeless.
Let's see what's going on.
You know what's the funniest part of that is when they started shitting on the sidewalk. Do you know what they did in California? Do you know what they did? They put a budget of like $400,000 a year to just pay people to clean up the human shit. You want to know why they did that? Because it would have been a lot cheaper to just make like bathroom facilities that are readily accessible to homeless people. Why they did the cleaning up the shit thing is because they knew that if you put bathrooms anywhere, like homeless people are still going to shit on the street. It's not.
Oh, I mean, geez, it was 2001 when I went there, but I went to San Francisco. The one time I went there, it was one of the worst days of my life. Well, worst nights. The day was fine. The night was the scary part. But I was in the Tenderloin, in the land before cell phones, and I saw the famous fountain. Because I remember in the 90s, I would listen to conservative talk radio, and it was kind of like a recurring thing they would talk about, was how the San Francisco City Council had this problem that the Tenderloin was a nightmarish shithole of crime, drugs, and homelessness, and it was hurting the city and tourism and all this stuff. So the city spent millions of dollars in a beautification campaign, and they spent millions of dollars to build a big, beautiful water fountain in the middle of the Tenderloin and try to make it like a central feature to sort of revitalize it. And then within 6 months, they had to turn the fountain off because the homeless people used it as a toilet, and it was literally full of shit. And so I saw the famous empty fountain. It was less than a couple of years old. It was still all brand new, but it had to be turned off to stop the homeless shitting in it. You know,
Jesus.
I think it's pretty good that they chose a fountain. I mean, that's a step up.
Yeah, yeah.
We should make somebody asked about impersonations. We should make impersonation videos of that guy. Jared, you can put on like your colored haired wig and start talking about church, and I can just sit there making empathetic faces. And
I do want Jared to make a parody bathtub TikTok.
Parody bathtub. You guys should do a parody bathtub.
Should we all do the parody bathtub? It's
I
like
was sitting in the bathtub and I thought,
oh,
And you got to turn your head like every 2 sentences or so and go, fuck.
I just spoke something a stranger offered me on a train, and I was just thinking,
I was
Joseph
thinking about
Smith.
Joseph Smith, and that guy
Joseph
was
Smith,
like he was wrong.
He believed things that I don't.
And I'm like, fuck.
He knew that.
You can
God,
tell
we're
the guy
good.
is genuinely new to swearing because
Yeah.
he knew what the
Probably knew the
hell
edibles, too.
he was doing.
He took
Bet you nay that Joseph Smith was a heckin' guy.
he took an edible, and that just changed everything, man. Edible,
Man,
the future.
You guys, I don't think you guys see him because you pay the premium YouTube, but the YouTube ads for marijuana products are the cringiest shit. And I mean, I'm not happy about it, but it's gratifying to know that I was totally right. Because I remember 20 years ago when I was talking to my friends, I'm like, you guys, I know you want legalization, but you're not going to like the corporatization of weed. And they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, just wait. And it's already there. And these ads are just the cringiest, most fucking bullshit thing. They piss me off, and then, yeah.
I remember you were a heavy pot smoker and very against all that legalization crap because it was like all the arguments for medicinal.
No,
marijuana.
I'm for it's funny. It's even when I was a Mormon teenager and I was personally completely opposed to using marijuana, I thought it was just the dumb. I thought I stupidly thought that it turned you into a dumb hippie. I didn't realize that those things were but the medical marijuana thing, just I despise it. I despise it so much because it's so anti-scientific and it's so stupid. And literally, because I make all these jokes but they're real. It's not even a satire. Where there's a fucking guy in dreadlocks and a tie-dye shirt wearing a lab coat, standing in front of a wall of bongs and talking about how Afghan Kush is really good for prostate cancer. Fucking bullshit. And the other thing that made this is because now you got me going. Because the thing is, obviously, the fucking government are bigger gangsters than the fucking gangsters because your weed dealer didn't charge you an annual fee. The fucking government. This is supposed to be medicine. It's fucking medicine. You can't bring your kids in the store. Really? You can't, for the same reason you can't bring your kids in a pharmacy, right? Because it's medicine. This is fucking retarded. And then, yeah, it's like, oh, I need this medicine. This is my important medicine. I'm treating a medical thing for it. Well, did you pay your $100 annual subscription key for your medicine? Such bullshit.
Hey,
and then of course, the
anything
whole thing
that's
where, like,
prescribed by Sam is medicine.
yeah, like,
You
like,
don't know.
like my whole thing is like, marijuana isn't medicine. It makes you feel good.
Not
That's
me.
enough reason. Okay,
Yeah.
like if you want to do it, you're grown up. Like, because like my whole thing is it should be regulated roughly like alcohol is regulated. Like kids shouldn't be doing it. They're gonna anyway, but we should do what we can to mitigate that. But yeah, like just this whole idea that it's because the other problem is like because I know a lot of people are like, well, I don't like the medical either, but it's a step toward legalization. It's like the fucking DABS is 80-something years old. Do you think Utah is ever going to let go of medical marijuana? They're never letting that go. And it's a fucking racket. Like 5 people in Utah got licenses to grow it. And it's basically a cartel because, like, a lot of people have pointed out that, like, mysteriously the 5 people who got the licenses all happen to be connected with the people making these choices. It's all fucking crooked as shit, but of course
That
the left
doesn't
doesn't
happen.
care about, like they ignore it when it's something they like. They're totally fine with it, even though it's all totally corrupt. No, this shit
Well,
drives me crazy.
You got to think about it this way. If how much do you think Biden's approval rating would go up if he just executive ordered federal legalization?
Isn't that what Obama tried to do, or did something similar to that? Or
I don't think much. The thing is, like, because there is the conservative backlash, like, because that's the
There's
thing. Is
conservative
like,
backlash, but I'm saying like this feels like it would be like a slam dunk, easy thing, a layup. I mean, for him,
maybe
like
if there's too much
I don't
money,
think that's an executive order. I think there's too many laws.
and if there's too much money in making,
okay, but like, what can executive orders not do? Because it seems like they can just
They can't violate the Constitution.
Okay,
but they do.
And
I'm not supposed to do stuff that
like we
deals
just
with
do
money.
executive orders for everything at this point.
Money's all supposed to be controlled supposedly by Congress unless it's an emergency, and that's why you hear the word emergency so often lately because it's so useful.
Yeah, no, that's right, because the whole student loan thing was done because COVID is an emergency.
But it got knocked down. Even Nancy Pelosi said that's not constitutional. He's not able to control the money like that, and that's why it got knocked
it's funny.
down.
Like Nancy Pelosi is like, "Fucker, that's not how we do this. Like, let me show you how we do corruption."
I know how to mess with money, and we don't care.
It's so great.
Thomas Valentin says, "What's up, dudes? Eating lots of chicken? Yeah, I went on the band did a road trip to Wyoming over the weekend, and all I did was eat 12 cans of canned chicken. That was my diet for 2 days. I was a Neil Breen for a couple days, 100%." Risto says he shares the criticism that Church Corp Inc. is totally in conflict with Jesus' teachings. I would go so far to say, and it's come up on Ward Radio a bunch this week, that it goes against Mormon church teaching, like the Church Corp.
Absolutely.
But that's why I named this episode "Cthulhu Always Swims Left," because that's the whole concept that goes with bureaucracies. And I mentioned Robert Conquest's 3 laws in the title. Let me show you this. Share screen. Into the window. So this was the thing. These are his Conquest 3 laws. Everyone is conservative about what they know best. That means if you know something really well and somebody else comes in and tries to start giving rules and laws and changes and stuff to it, no matter what you are, if you're a lefty or whatever, if you run something or you're part of something, if some outsider or whatever comes in and starts trying to flip it around and change it up, you will contest that. Any organization not explicitly and constitutionally right-wing will sooner or later become left-wing. And that is the concept of the managerial revolution, which I've been wanting to make a lot of shorter videos and maybe even offer those up to Ward Radio because they said they wanted some from us. But I heard Jacob mention it just this week, and this is where most of my criticism for the Mormon Church, I try to save it for being conservative side criticism. And this is the thing that he said: the bureaucracy and the people who run the stuff seem to be a thing underneath the thing that's not really a thing. Well, that's just The Managerial Revolution, James Burnham writes about this. Many other people have written about it, but the concept is bureaucracies can only go that way. Like you go, if we got huge, let's say Porch Time became a Joel Rogan sized thing, and then it lasted 50 years, and across some time we had to hire a bunch of managerial people and lawyers and who knows what, all sorts of stuff, and it became something across 70 years, just like happened to Disney or whatever. It gets taken over by some other entity, some other CEOs, some other CFOs, some other whatever. Across time, Cthulhu will swim left. It will go left. The bureaucracy underneath it, that's the whole concept, is Thomas Hobbes. Thomas Hobbes talks about the Leviathan, and the Leviathan is the state. And you
does
can't
it just go left or does it go stupid? And that's the same thing.
Well, it's the same difference. But
because I worked for a government, I worked for a state department, and there's a whole thing that we've gone through in the last few years that it's just so amazing to watch this happen, which is that because it's a bureaucracy masquerading as a retailer, but it's a bureaucracy, so it selects for bureaucrats and weeds out retailers, right? So the entire administration is Mormons and bureaucrats.
Yeah.
And so they've run into this problem, right? Where because they don't know anything. Like the restaurants, customers, they have questions about alcohol, but the people who run the alcohol don't know anything about it, right? And so they got tired of fielding all these calls. And so what they did is they spent $1 gajillion to hire an outside company to contract to be the help desk. And it's literally like something out of Dilbert where they're like, hey, we don't know how to do this. So they hire somebody and then they start yelling at them like, why don't you know how to do this, right? So these help desk people are outsiders. They don't work in our stores. They have nothing to do with us directly. They are literally hired to know things, but they don't actually know things, right? So they don't actually know anything. And so they've just posted a new job, and it looks like a temporary thing, but I know it's temporary, so it's going to become full-time. And because they're calling it a customer service representative. But the description is a receptionist. And we're not sure, but what we surmise is that they are creating a job for people who can answer the questions that the help desk that they hired to answer the questions can. Just like in Dilbert, they're just adding layer upon layer upon layer.
And Dilbert's a study in that. But it's what happens with bureaucracy.
And the part where customers get the information they want is yet to occur.
Oh my God! One of my first jobs was at a call center for Capital One, and that's the job that just sucked my soul. That's my least favorite job I've ever had, because the entire point of it.
All you do is apologize, right? You just apologize.
Well, kind of. No, actually, I mean, yeah, you apologize some, but part of what you do is so credit card legislation had recently changed to where if you go over your card limit, the default has to be that it just denies a transaction rather than
rather than them hitting you with
and so
punitive fees.
But that was the legislation said if you opt in to being able to go over your limit, then that's fine. And so my entire branch, all we did was people were calling in for customer service questions, which we were trained in, but we weren't allowed to do the customer service questions. We were just allowed to try to convince them to add the option onto their card to go over their limit. And man, I was terrible at that job because I was like, this is such a bad idea. I'm like 18 years old, and I understand obviously that this is a terrible idea. So a couple of people are like, well, that sounds kind of convincing. Do you think it's a good idea? And I'd always just be like, I don't. It's the only job I ever got fired from. And I feel pretty good about it.
It's not right for you.
Yeah. So I think that's evil. Just the nature of bureaucracy. Like Thomas Hobbes described it when he described the Leviathan of the state or whatever is a bureaucratic entity. He kind of more described it as like this underwater monster that once you just see it kind of ripple the waves and you realize there's this giant thing under there, like moving that direction, you go, oh shit, and it just causes like absolute dread in you. because you see the monster under there that you had no idea it was there. And the third law is the weirdest one, but I think it's absolutely true. And there's no better place to see it than in the Mormon Church. The behavior of any bureaucratic organization can best be understood by assuming that it is controlled by a secret cabal of its enemies. Now, that's not saying that it is controlled by a secret cabal of its enemies. Maybe it is or not, but we've talked before about how risk aversion can look exactly like wokeness, just plain and simple.
Yeah.
And just
Risk
the
aversion
movement
is
of anything that gets
uniquely-
that many layers to it starts just becoming that. And that there's a reason why the whole church is just run by lawyers now. And there's no sort of like fire of some sort of inspired person or some sort of thing like that running it. It's
So, like, it's kind of like predators can smell weakness, or sense weakness somehow, and the wokeness is just a predatory practice, and the biggest weakness to it is risk aversion, like over risk aversion.
it
right?
sniffs out where you will be risk averse and it can put the sticks to you on
Like, you
something.
don't want to risk your organization being called racist or being called homophobic, right? And no, we don't.
So there's a
I
book.
can have like an honest belief that, well, I don't think anybody who says that, only females can be women, I don't think they're phobic or anything like that. But I guess my company has to think that if we're going to avoid risk.
There's a book by Christopher Caldwell called The Age of Entitlement that I recommend everybody reads. And his whole point is that the Civil Rights Act of 64 ostensibly kind of created a second constitution, which made it so everybody had to be held to these things. It kind of destroyed freedom of association in certain ways. And then it made it so, this is some of the arguments from some of the dissident right, is they'll try to claim that wokeness is really the fault of liberalism because it's the money in the institution that has to dance when they get put in these spots and has the laws and that sort of thing behind it that makes it so that they can put those ideas into people and threaten them and threaten suing and threaten, it's using the constitutional state, but under the new constitutional changes that came with the Civil Rights Act of 64, which we just had Martin Luther King Day. Yay.
You think, because we're getting close to that FBI shit being public record. And I really wonder, like, is there going to be any kind of reckoning? Like, because I don't know how the left, I should say, they're plenty capable of being totally hypocritical. But, like...
You wondering at what point they tell us that JFK was
well, do you know what I'm talking
by
about?
the CIA? And
There's that thing
he was supposedly assassinated by the FBI.
But also just like, a few years ago, there's that guy who got access to the FBI records, and apparently there is a wiretap recording of
the
Martin
rape.
Luther King, laughing while his friend rapes a prostitute.
Yep.
And this is apparently soon. Is it 2028? When is it? It's not too long from now, is it? I don't think. And I just wonder,
soon, but it might be those ones just like the JFK stuff that they come up with a reason that they got to keep hiding it.
Yeah.
Let me show you some. Let's look at a couple of Cwic postings around Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh
Day.
Boy. What madness. I wonder what he'll come up with.
Wait, what's your guess?
I don't know. With him, Cwic is mysterious to me. It's like I'm really not sure how much of him is an act or if he is just genuinely nuts. It's hard to tell.
I think it's
Here it is. Can you read it? This is a Cwic reposted by Josh Thomas. If you think critical race theory is a bigger concern than white supremacy, you would have hated Dr. King. If you're bombing of Palestine, if you're pro-bombing of Palestine, you would have hated Dr. King. If you're pro-death penalty, you would have hated Dr. King. If you're pro-Christian nationalism, you would have hated Dr. King. If you're anti-union, you would have hated Dr. King. Most white American evangelicals would still hate Dr. King if he were alive today. I believe that's true, but I kind of have to believe that that's one of those ones that you're probably lucky that you didn't get a chance to see him pull a Jon Stewart on all of us.
Yeah. No.
This is another one.
Wow, that's good stuff.
critical race theory is a bigger problem than white supremacy. Like actual white supremacy, yes, critical race theory is a bigger problem than actual white supremacy. And I don't hate Dr. Martin Luther King, at least his ideas that helps liberalism win out. But the first picture is Christianity. The second picture is Abrahamic
Americanism.
Abrahamic the Americanism.
Because this is just straight up critical theory. Abrahamic Americanism testifies of Western ego, villain worship, and heritage idols.
Well, you remember when he was talking with us, he's like totally anti all founding fathers and all that sorts of deal.
Yeah.
Christianity is true. Abrahamic Americanism is false. But he secretly sneaks in a bunch of wokey type things all over the place.
Oh yeah, that's totally you would have thought that would have been a woke Mormon that wrote that.
Yeah.
Or some kind of woke Christian.
Do you want to see how Cthulhu swims left? I'll show you how Cthulhu swims left. Here's how Cthulhu swims left. It's in the undies, man. It's going rightwards. I should have flipped it around, but evidence of global warming. That's funny. Let's see here. So this week, John DeLynn mentioned and became or acted as if he were aware of Cwic and James Lindsay. They said James Lindsay, although he didn't really know who James Lindsay was at all. But
yeah, didn't he call him a filmmaker or something?
Yeah, he thought he was a filmmaker, but he were not. The comm director of the Mormon Church. I'll watch a little TikTok video from a gal who sums it up called Analyzing Mormonism. Have you followed her channel at all? Oh, I've got a Black Menaces video too. She's a queer commenter.
Point of order.
Point of order. Let's see here. She'll sum up this situation for us. Share screen. This sounds like great news to me is the title.
The Deseret News released an article on January 9th saying that the church had hired a new head of public affairs and media relations for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And that person's name is Aaron Sherinian. In the article, Aaron is quoted as saying, "Communications professionals are always looking for a job that has purpose. And this job is filled with not just purpose, but the message of love for everyone." He also said that he would spend more time listening than talking. And if you've seen his social media, you'll know that he is a bold LGBTQIA ally. You'll see on his LinkedIn account, he says that his pronouns are he, him. And in one post, he is wearing a love shirt that is in rainbow colors, standing next to friends. The post says how grateful we are for examples of allyship and for diverse communities who rally for outreach and understanding versus division and hate. In another image of a pride parade, his caption says, "I am proud of people who make their voices heard today. And yes, love does conquer hate." And in a 2015 post on his Twitter account or X account, he says, "Gay marriage is now legal across all 50 states. Hashtag love is love. Hashtag marriage equality." And in some of his other Twitter/X posts, he applauds the first trans member of the U.S. team, Chris Mosier. He also says transgender rights are human rights. And he also shares how to support the entire global trans community with the hashtag Caitlyn Jenner's bravery. So what's happening here? Is the church becoming more progressive? Or were they just totally unaware that Aaron Sherinian was an LGBTQIA ally?
Both.
I thought you couldn't be an ally and take a check from that place. I actually heard that just this week on Mormon News Roundup. Divas, your guy said that on there. You can't be taking a check at all and be claiming to be an ally in any way.
Somebody played that guy a clip of John Larson telling him.
Yeah, John Larson also said that as well. We already know that you can't be an ally and be allied to the church in any way. But that's what I don't get is like, why are they always on their side of stuff? Why are they prepared for the pink washing so well? Like they're going to like the church and just like go back to it because it does that stuff. We already saw the video from the guy. I didn't play it, but I played it, but it just had her subtitles of her saying that we will never forget what you did and we'll never come back. And no matter, even when you come back and give all the gays the marriage and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But why wouldn't they? Why would the church suddenly be okay now? Because it got pink washed on your side. On that side, why would it suddenly be okay? We know it's not suddenly okay. It's not going to be okay. But why do you keep pretending like it would be?
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean, like we
he's
say
talking
over and
about
over again, like it's BPD turned inside out and blasted on the world. And like these people, like, I hate you, don't leave me. That's exactly how they feel about the church.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Where is this train where the strangers offer you weird things to smoke, and how much are the tickets?
Sounds great.
Rhetorical prophylaxis shampoo. Sir Stoner says Trump legalized marijuana with the 2018 Farm Bill, CBD Delta. Wow, I didn't know that.
like CBD
Forrest
thing
says-
is weird. I do not understand the CBD thing.
Forrest says what's funny is how the leadership is blamed in all other organizations, but in Mormonism, the leaders are exempt from criticism. But I mean, well, that's one of the things I'm sure Forrest has been watching. I know you guys don't watch Ward Radio religiously, but I mean, they dropped a lot this week. But
Right before we came on, I listened to something that Chris Chan put out, and it was 15 minutes of him doing his prophetic Jesus stuff. And I just had the thought, like, listening to Chris Chan and listening to Ward Radio are not too different.
well, anyway, so they had there was like an article in that, what's that church magazine, Tablet, the one that Dan Ellsworth writes for. I forget what it's called. But some guy named Thane, who's supposedly woke, criticized the Midnight Mormons and other sorts of influencer channels for going after BYU. They shouldn't be going after BYU. They go after Cwic and all that sorts of stuff, and they got chastised for it from that level. And then they also got into it with Rick Bennett, not Jim Bennett, Rick Bennett. But if you guys recall, Rick Bennett, he was coming at them for saying that they're crude and they're gross and that they're hard right and all that sorts of stuff. And Cardin was upset about that one. And I sent to Cardin Bill Reel's posting of Rick Bennett cussing him out for using some of his videos on fair use. If you guys remember that at all.
Oh, yeah.
Rick Bennett cussed out F-bombs and everything Bill Reel because he fair used some of his videos. Rick Bennett's a goober and a goof, but they both were calling out Ward Radio on those guys for being too critical of the church themselves. And then we get to John DeLynn and the three, whatever, what would we call Bill Reel, John DeLynn? Are they the three Nephites of ex-Mormonism or something like that? Hold on, sir. Forrest says, in Jacob's and Ward Radio's mind, the bureaucracy has gone rogue and are separate from the leadership. Well, I mean, but that's kind of the argument of some bureaucracies, although I would like kind of call like the top leadership part of that bureaucracy. I mean, I definitely think that comes down. Somebody asked me, who do I think made that decision? Was it like the bishopric or something like that? But I think Russell M. Nelson would be down with that guy 100%.
Oh, yeah.
I do think Russell M. Nelson, here's me losing my Mormon cred of always being on their side, but I think Russell M. Nelson is totally vulnerable and willing to jump into that World Economic Forum side of the universe, feet first, 100%. I think he's all in on that type of stuff, and I think they should watch out for that dude. I mean, he's only been like nudging it a little bit here and there, but I don't think that guy is. I don't think that guy is not down with that one world religion crap. He goes and meets with in Dubai with the Pope and all those types of things. And Cwic is critical, and I'm going to go into DeLynn's podcast where they also talk about, wait a minute, how come they can be critical from the right side and we can't be critical from the left side? We were just trying to help the church too. Troy said, reactionary risk aversion might indeed explain the higher. Maybe it's more cover your ass than signaling a policy or direction change. Now, too. I mean, but also if you're playing along with ESG scores and all that types of stuff, you've got to show that you've got certain types of hires and signal towards that sorts of thing and all that. Tom says, see why you can only go so far before you lose credibility. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
He says, I'm so glad you're putting these 3 rules out there. I really wish the ex-Mormon world would see the corruption of the church through this lens rather than the woke one. It makes way more sense. I agree. Yeah, they tend to default to the easier woke direction. Sir Stoner says, Kwaku is a chameleon. Yep. He'll switch whenever he needs. He's a clout whore. What else?
Man, I need to watch Zelig again.
Yeah. Have you tell them what Zelig is if they haven't seen it? It's kind of that.
Quickie, yeah, he's a little bit Zelig-y, isn't he?
Yeah. Zelig is what's his name?
Woody Allen is one of
Woody
the
Allen,
best
yeah.
Woody Allen movies. It was like 1985, and it's about a guy who's so desperate to fit in that he's like a kind of human chameleon, and it's done in like a pseudo documentary style, and it's one of the best Woody Allen movies. So funny. And for being a Woody Allen movie, the effects are actually pretty good. Like the makeup and the effects, like the way they do the morphing and stuff, it's actually pretty good. But he's canceled.
Well, this is kind of weird, but
Didn't he adopt a girl and then marry her? Or
I mean,
something?
so
I
like
don't know.
no, so that's the thing. Like this is the age difference and the connection is definitely weird. But like the part of the story that like has been destroyed with the in the whole rumor mill ever since then, like he never raised her. Like he met
Sure.
her as an adult.
oh,
like
really?
she was the stepdaughter of or no, sorry, not the stepdaughter, the adopted daughter of what's her name? Mia Farrow, I think. Yeah. But like, yeah, Woody Allen never met Soon-Yi Previn until she was an adult. So like, yeah, this idea that like, oh, it was his stepdaughter, like, well, like, yeah, technically, yeah, but it's not like he raised her or anything like that. But like, see, and this is the other thing that's so weird about that story, because like, on the surface, you're like, my God, that's so creepy. Like, he's 30 years older than her. She's just, a young woman at the time. She was this Korean refugee adopted person. They're still together.
Are they?
Like, that's the
wild.
part to me that part, like one of the things that just throws a wrench to the whole thing, where it's like, again, like, especially also coming like, thinking about the modern left and like their whole polyamory, like, hey, who's to say? Because like, like in that respect, I'm like, they're still together. Like Soon-Yi Previn has never come out and said anything. There was a documentary made about him that she's in. Like, yeah, like in that kind of respect, like, I mean, it seems to be working. So I guess,
What
and then the whole thing about like the accusation about him doing anything to the other girl, like, I think that's pretty obvious that Mia Farrow was coached that girl.
Yeah,
Like,
that one was strange.
Yeah.
Anyway, here's Cwic talking about
What is
this is the director of that film. She actually friended me on Facebook and Twitter because she saw me poking around and mouthing off to some people. I don't think she's LDS, but I think she does live like around here in Utah.
what is the future for the American churches with this?
Well, this is not in my book. It's in my documentary. It's from interviews with James Lindsay, Elisa Logan, Alex Newman. But unfortunately, the United Nations have their one world religion plan, that they are trying to co-opt all religions, not just Christianity. Every faith, every denomination within Christianity, every faith, they're seeking to co-opt with this one world religion of the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So a one world religion of equity, sustainability, and inclusion. The thing is, they want their one world government body that gets to rule over everyone, unelected, with no representation for the people. They want the churches to help them in that. And their goal is for the churches to still kind of look like their denomination, like that. What is taught in those churches is the sustainable development goal.
What is
the thing is about that is that it sounds all conspiracy stuff, but James Lindsay, just like his other stuff, has gone through, and very boringly, you have to listen to his podcast, which he does like 3-4 parters of the stuff, reads all the documents that actually announces all that crap. They really do have that intention to do that.
Earlier today, I was talking to my dad, and I ran into this whole thing where I'm like, I'm trying to explain this stuff to him. He's like, well, I mean, if I believe you, and then I had to interrupt. I'm like, you don't have to believe me. You just have to believe them. They
in
say
their
it,
words,
you know.
But of course, to John DeLynn and these guys in their little Overton window, it's all just conspiracy theory stuff. But I do think they give some credibility to Cwic here, like in the sense of saying like they understand that the move is confusing, and that's just 100% true. This is them covering Cwic.
QRFN. Okay, so today the leading story is Mormon Church hires LGBT ally as head spokesman. Welcome to the Mormon Newscast. Deseret News just a few days ago reported that Aaron Sherinian is a longtime global communication specialist and was introduced Tuesday as the new head of public affairs and media relations for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And of course, we're all wondering, if the Tim Ballard, Russell Ballard, Emerson Ballard fiasco was the cause. But what's most interesting is, for the focus of today, we're going to be talking about how sort of conservative, fundamentalist, prepper, I would even say potentially you could say MAGA Mormonism is coming unglued.
MAGA Mormonism.
So what we've done is we're pulling a bunch
Oh, what a
Jacob
turd.
said he didn't vote. He wouldn't vote Trump in the primary and all that stuff. He would in the final election and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But I also talked directly to Cwic. They call him QAnon here and all that stuff, and he's not QAnon. He's not MAGA. He's just conservative and a constitutionalist. But of course, to these guys, everything's that. But
YouTube channel called Cwic by this guy named Greg Mattson, and we're going to share this story.
So when this was live, I shared it with Cwic. So.
Through the eyes and through the lens of Greg Mattson and this Cwic YouTube channel. And so let's jump right into it.
All right, put your seatbelt on. This is an Edge of the Sword episode. The new communications director for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints uses pronouns and supports pride.
All right, so we already know what he's most concerned about. Greg Mattson and his followers are most concerned about the fact that Aaron Sherinian, uses pronouns and supports pride. So let's go to the next clip.
All right, welcome to Cwic Show. My name is Greg Mattson, and I am your host. In this episode, Aaron Sherinian has been made the new church communications director. A very interesting background, and we're going to go over that. We're also going to go over messaging, because messaging is a very important thing for the church, I think. And confusion abounds right now everywhere with decisions that are made like this. But there are going to be questions that are brought up by many members. There already are, right? I mean, this topic here is already spreading throughout social media like wildfire. And the messaging is very confusing. You have a message from the brethren at the pulpit talking about defending the doctrine of the family. And then you have a world-facing church that is trying to bridge gaps, make friends, and help the church move forward globally throughout the world, especially in the missionary program. And then temple work. I'm going to approach this from a faithful perspective because that's the right thing to do. But I think that we really do need to put our seatbelts on, because we are going into a world here with the internet and social media and with the church that is going to bring us through very stormy weather.
So as soon as he's talking about stormy weather, I'm thinking about gathering storm, QAnon. Like, these are the types of things. He seems really concerned. Greg seems really concerned.
Oh, you turd.
Really fearful, and he sort of amps that up a bit by talking about how the mists of
Just here, I'll jump to it, because then you just cover the stuff that we already saw in that.
It's too bad this is a sober month, or else I'd make a drinking game. We can watch this whole thing, and I'd take a shot every time John uses a thought-stopping cliche.
Yeah. Where'd it go? They mentioned James Lindsay, although he gets it wrong. He thinks that James Lindsay is the director of the film, but it's the first time I've ever heard him recognize the name at all or anything like that. Although I know he knows who Peter Boghossian is, but
guys, you can bathe in it.
He's saying you can bathe in the
who are
confusion. Yeah, and it's just Cwic being honest. He's saying straight up, like, this doesn't make sense. This looks like Robert Conquest's third law. It looks like that Mormon church is, or the BYU or whatever, is being run by a cabal of its enemies.
Yeah.
Greg Mattson, you're a YouTube social media personality with 40,000 followers who's claiming to not check the church, while you're not only checking the church, but you're spreading your concerns to tens of thousands of believing members. And I think that's something you need to be careful of. That's something that I used to do before I ended up on the other side of 15 men.
Shut the fuck up.
I'll conclude by just showing you on his.
I think there is true. Because Cwic keeps trying to backtrack, like, I still support him. And all.
No, I know he's right in the criticism. Like, he's like Cwic. He does say a bunch during this thing. He's like, and this isn't me trying to, tell the church that they're wrong or something. I was like, well, it is. So just say that it is.
Yeah,
but,
it is. Yeah.
But I love that how he has to insert himself in there and be like, that's what I was doing before I got excommunicated. I was like, no, you didn't give a fuck about the Mormon church for over a decade before you got excommunicated.
100% a different intention behind it.
If Cwic got excommunicated for this, he would be legitimately hurt by it.
Yeah.
His actual YouTube community page, he's promoting this new movie called Beneath Sheep's Clothing, And there happens to be a sentence in the description of the movie, quote, "Our churches are infiltrated by wolves in sheep's clothing." And there's Greg Mattson with a filmmaker that's basically saying our churches are infiltrated by wolves in sheep's clothing. So I'll end with just a few questions for our panel. Is this LDS LGBT confusion new, or is it the same old LDS LGBTQ confusion that we've been experiencing for 20 years? Will Aaron Sherinian's social media be scrubbed after this episode? Will he keep his job? How long will he last? Is the LDS Church realistically risking a schism here with sort of the Restore, Terrell and Fiona Givens, Richard Bushman, Patrick Mason Mormons on the left, and these Cwic Prepper MAGA Mormons on the right? And then finally,
Cwic Prepper MAGA Mormon. Just like that. Just like that.
Towards
What a
apostasy.
piece of shit you
Panel,
are,
take it away.
John DeLynn.
Okay, the first thing I want to say is, by the way, I think Mattson has 2 T's in it, not positive. There's the picture. You see, Greg Mattson's fear has come to pass. We've got the rainbow colors on the temple. It looks very pretty from this perspective. You did that, didn't you, Bill?
That was AI art. Yes, I did that today on Midjourney.
I love it.
But my question for Greg Mattson with 2 T's or not is, where does he think the new communications director, the head guy, basically of the PR department, where does he think he comes from? Do you think he just sort of walks in off the street and says, "Hey, I just thought I'd take this job, so let's get going"? Does he think that the
I
church leaders
wish.
have nothing to
That'd
do
be a
with
lot
selecting
better.
this individual?
Where do you guys think he comes from? Like, why do you guys
He
think
comes
this
from
is
church.
happening? This is antithetical to everything you guys say the church would and could do. Why aren't you confused?
That's my question.
Yeah.
And how can he possibly say with a straight face, and he didn't the first time he said it, that he's not checking the church when all he's doing is checking the church? He's creating this mythical space between the church leaders and the people who work for them. So there's some sort of rogue person in the church who's doing the hiring and firing without the knowledge of the top leadership.
I mean,
That's
that's
a correction.
Oh, sorry,
Troy
that's a
says that-
fact of any
Troy
large
Young.
enough organization. Like,
That
doesn't
was
matter.
Troy. That was you that corrected him. That's
What?
funny.
Troy,
That's
did
not
that
the
happen?
filmmaker. That's Dr. James Lindsay, speaker and philosopher. DeLynn needs a fact checker. I didn't even see that because I wasn't looking at the screen when he got it corrected.
Nice.
You cheeky bastard.
That's funny, Troy.
That photo wasn't of the filmmaker. It's Dr. James
That's
Lindsay,
hilarious.
speaker and philosopher. Thank you, Troy, for being my fact checker. Okay, keep going.
I
panel.
should have heard.
Yeah,
that
Rebecca,
was
your
Troy.
thoughts?
Yeah, well, that would be the shadow government inside the church, right? That we've heard so much about. No, I'm being facetious there, but some people do believe that.
It doesn't need to be shadow government. It's bureaucracy.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
bureaucracy.
This
There's
is a
whole
nitpick.
thing.
This is a nitpick, but if you have to say I'm being sarcastic, then you don't deserve to be sarcastic.
Yeah.
That's just my thing, you know.
There's this thing called the there's this whole book around this. Stephen Michael Davis just did a good video on it. It's called The Practitioner's Veto. And the practitioner's veto is what any sort of radical in government has to deal with. And we know it pretty well from Trump. And what the practitioner's veto is you have this whole bureaucratic, what you might call the deep state, which forever they said didn't exist, of all these different institutions that run a million different things. And you come in and you say, hey, I want you to do this. And then the practitioner's veto is you can say, oh, well, I've got this to worry about and this concern and this thing and that thing. And I don't know what. And, I'll get to that, but I've got some other stuff to do. And then they just don't carry out the orders. And it doesn't carry out the orders all the way down. It's called the practitioner's veto. And we know it from just the military defying Trump's orders all the time and then bragging about it later. Not to mention that we know that, I have that like little thing of them announcing on CNN that they plan on setting up stuff for the military to not have to answer to him whenever that comes up.
It's pre-announced that, they're not going to be doing their jobs.
But all across the board, that practitioner, as soon as you get a bureaucracy in place, like I said, if we had a port, if the port time got big enough to become a bureaucracy and that sort of thing, it would end up looking as woke as anything. It would get all globalist as hard as it comes. It's just how stuff happens. Let's see. We got Christopher shown in. Seriously, I've got to back up here. Forrest says John is right about Cwic. I mean, Cwic knows. I've talked to Cwic. I actually had lunch with Cwic, and he knows perfectly well he's treading on thin ice. He knows. He tries to say stuff to reconcile it and all that sort of stuff to keep it off, but he totally knows that he could be boosted, or he didn't say excommunicated, but he thinks that he's possibly in line to what's the other thing that they do? Not excommunication.
Disfellowship.
Disfellowship. Yeah, he's been worried about that. Dylan had a chubby during his excommunication. That's a serious stoner. There's a quote from back in the day about he's excited for what it meant for him.
Oh, he totally was. That was the most fake bullshit I've ever seen. That was my.
He was
like,
giddy. He was giddy with it.
Oh yeah, and those morons had a candlelight vigil for him. Like, How do you not realize that this is an ex-Mormon rock star's dream come true?
Yeah, no, it's the best thing ever. I'm just glad the church finally learned their lesson to just not even play into these guys. You know, like there's the whole thing last year when they tried to get arrested on the Y, you know, and like they're just people are smart enough. Okay, like let's not Streisand these people.
Forrest says the right needs to start fighting the leadership. They are going to lose if they keep pretending the leadership aren't responsible. I think you are correct.
Oh yeah, they're huge pussies.
I said, if you listen to my first time going on Midnight Mormons, I was sub-messaging this whole entire thing that I said, if you guys really are the beacon on the hill that stands up against this stuff, I'll join up with you. But I knew I was kind of I was calling a bluff because I knew that I didn't have faith, as all my other right-wingish friends have faith, that they will be a bulwark and stand up against this stuff. I do think religions, as Gramsci pointed out, are one of the ways that the world culturally can stand up to this types of stuff. But I think with a church that's become so bureaucratic, they're losing that. They're giving up all the savory salt that makes them them. And it looks to me like they will slowly but surely just get in line with every single one of the things. And people who want to say that we're just trying to protect this, and the part that I think might be a bulwark against all of that gets gobbled up. There's going to be like a division, like a civil war inside of that conservative side of the stuff as they go move in that direction. But I just don't think that it's looking like it will be the thing that stands up to it at all. And I try to pump up the side of it that might hold on to uniqueness and local culture or something like that. But I think it'll get swallowed. That's just my view, unless they fight it. And who knows if they will or won't. I mean, something's going to happen as far as that goes. But whatever faction's off, it'll probably just become the Community of Christ, and the Community of Christ itself just becomes the same thing. It's like the South Park Walmart episode.
Oh,
everything
yeah.
just becomes Walmart. There's nothing you can do about it. It is the Leviathan. Everything just becomes Walmart.
Absolutely true. Hey, like, I mean, how is it working out for the Community of Christ? I can't imagine they're growing much.
Oh, did you see their announcement? Who their prophet
They have a
is?
woman prophet now.
Yeah.
Oh,
right here. You want to?
She hasn't been sustained in conference. But it's like, who's going to be like, no, I don't want that woman.
Here it is. Discerning future leadership. Discern. That's their prophet. Although, it looks goofy looking at like HR lady being your prophet or whatever there. Would they call prophet? I don't know what Community of Christ does.
They call
but
it, like,
if you think
president of
about
the church, I think.
the suit wearing 1950 looking, white car salesman looking dudes in the church side of stuff. I mean, I guess it doesn't look that different in the other gender, but
yeah.
Mormons, you got the pickle on your hands. You got the pickle, and I don't think you're going to beat it. I wish you would. My heart hopes you would, but you will not. At the same time, this is who you get.
Your religion's fucked, guys.
Yep. You're going down the toilet hole.
Nice civilization you had there.
Yeah, it was a good try. It was a good effort. It was a good stand. And now this is your future.
This is Kanan, and BYU Hawaii is trying to kick him out for celebrating his culture. Let's get into it. Kanan has been at BYU Hawaii since fall of 2023, and he has never caused any issues, never broken any rules. He's a good student, and he's a returned missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. In spite of all of this, Kanan's enrollment is still under threat because of the color of his skin and because of his desire to celebrate his heritage as an Afro-Guyanese man. Now, before we get into
believe that.
Lies.
That students are expected to follow in order to remain students at the university. This includes no smoking, no drinking, no tattoos, no coffee, and no sex.
Wait, no way.
And
is his culture going to be smoking pot?
I mean,
really, he's a ganja guy or something.
I bet you could say that. I mean,
because also I just wonder, it's like, I mean, do they need to write into the honor code like, because no drinking, no smoking, no premarital sex, and no neo-Marxist entryism. Like, that's against the honor code to try to dismantle the entire institution from the inside out.
Well, that's Jacobs and Cwic's argument that they should have that in there, which would be Robert Conquest law. If you're not expressly constitutionally right-wing, you will become left-wing. But and that's his hard law. It's Conquest stands by it in everything, no matter what.
BYU dorms have chaperones who enforce curfew and visitor rules for residents. Cannon had been living in one of these dorms for a few months when he was approached by a chaperone and made to produce his student ID in order to prove that he was a student at the university. This is a classic example of racial profiling because your average white student at BYU is not going to have to prove that they're a student of the university, especially if they're on their way to their
Never
dorm.
happened.
The
to
chaperone then
anyone.
told him that he needed to cut all of his locks off in order to adhere to BYU rules. There's no rule that prohibits having locks, and when Cannon refused this, he
Yes,
was
there
reported
is.
to administration. Since then,
But
BYU
when it happened to me, I had long hair. I was
The
a
retarded,
young kid
like
visiting
the
my older brother.
retarded haircut rules that everybody has known about forever. That's the rule.
Yeah.
Hawaii administration has been trying to quietly force Cannon to cut his locks in order to conform to these unwritten rules.
One of the things
apply
that
to black
cracks me up
students at
about
BYU.
this is
It's not an
Education
unwritten rule.
president
It's
of student
written.
life at BYU Hawaii.
this
They
is the
wrote
guy pressuring it because this came up just the other week too with the Dan McClellan thing, pointing out the white supremacists who constantly designate people on Twitter, and it's always Polynesians like every single time. Are Hawaiians Polynesians or? But
Yeah.
that's your white supremacist right there. Kalaunalani Kau. Oh man, my pronunciation was white supremacist.
They're pretty bad.
His name is Jonathan Kalaunalani Kau.
Oh,
He has some crazy stuff to
He's not white supremacist.
say about the situation. To kick it off, he told Cannon that dress and grooming standards at the university needed to be adhered to regardless of culture. When Cannon pointed out the obvious double standard here, then he was told that the appearance standards would be more strict depending on someone's genetics. That's crazy. I'm not even sure if that qualifies as a dog whistle because it's so blatant, but if it is a dog whistle, that's a St. Bernard, Great Dane, Irish Wolfhound type of whistle.
What
That's a
was the claim?
That some races it would be more strict for them over others or something like that. They claim. He said
it would be strict. It could be stricter based on their genetics.
But who said that?
that
Nobody's-
Kolowan and
Hey,
Kai
I mean,
guy.
that guy
Oh, because I the way he made it
Hawaiian
sound
dude.
like
So
that-
he's dog
like
whistling
BYU,
his
like
white supremacy. That's the King Kong of dog whistles, even though his Hawaiian skin isn't the counterfactual to that.
was told that the appearance standards would be more strict depending on someone's genetics. That's crazy. I'm not even sure if that qualifies as a dog whistle because it's so blatant, but if it is a dog whistle, that's a St. Bernard, Great Dane, Irish Wolfhound type of whistle. That's a wolf whistle at this point. To say that rules apply to people differently based on their genetics and you're talking to a black man? Come on, Jonathan. Finally, that vice president told Cannon that
they're trying to say somebody from BYU told this guy, we take your race into consideration and how we enforce these rules. Is that
Yeah.
the claim?
Yeah,
That's
that
the claim.
Hawaiian president. That's the claim.
Okay, that's a lie. You're fucking lying. You're just a fucking lying propagandist.
That was for
Fucking
some
rot
reason
in
you're not
hell, you
allowed to
piece of
just
shit.
You're not allowed to ever just say like I don't believe you because I've started to say that to people. Like I got into it about like gender shit because I'm always getting into it about gender shit, and this dude was talking about, oh, it's actually not as obvious as you think. Like as a bearded man, I have long hair, so sometimes I still get mistaken for a woman. And I was like, I simply don't believe you. Okay. And maybe from behind, like maybe somebody sees you from behind, they say, excuse me, ma'am. And then you turn around and like, oh, sorry, sir. Like
That happened to me. That has happened to me because I've had a ponytail for a long time.
I had long hair when I visited my older brother at BYU, and that happened to me. Let's see. But
he would not be
I didn't run into any white supremacist Hawaiians.
to remain a part of the BYU Hawaii community unless he cut all of his hair off. Keep in mind that there is no written rule against having locks or long hair. This is a clear.
Yes, there is.
no rule
Yes,
for that?
there is. The
I guess
rule
I
is
don't
the
know
haircut
about
rule.
I guess I don't know about BYU Hawaii because I know that for the longest time BYU I and BYU had different rules. In Idaho it was stricter. Now they've just changed it to being the same rules for both of them. So I guess I don't know exactly what the
They're
rules
all
are for Hawaii.
university now. My understanding is they're all BYU and they are all under the same framework. It's all the same rules.
They're stupid rules. I'll give
Yeah.
them that.
No, because that's
Yeah.
like the only thing
If
stupid in
it-
this video is going to BYU when you don't want to follow the rules. Like this, again, the only thing that's so obnoxious where people are like, "How dare BYU do this?" Like, you don't have to go there. There are so many options for
Or it
higher
said
education
BYU
not
Hawaii
run by
had hair
Mormons.
standards. Did you go to BYU Hawaii for? He said in 2012 they did. I'm just positive that my hair doesn't grow like that anymore, but maybe I'll grow a Hulk Hogan skullet and go walk around the place and see what happens if I get busted or not.
It is kind of weird though because they usually puss out when it comes to standard, having different standards for different cultures and shit like that, which is something that never made sense to me.
Oh, this is.
I mean, somebody will get like a tribal tattoo and they'll be like, "Well, that's okay because it's part of his culture." I was like, "Hang on a second. He can get a tattoo because he's from Hawaii and I can't because I'm from Idaho."
Look at this. Kimball does make the point that the genetics thing usually goes the other way, though. He's like, as far as I know, the church does carve out long hair restrictions for some cultures. Traditional Ecuadorians could serve missions in my day with long 2008. They will cave to this guy. But that's the genetic thing's the other direction is what that guy was likely saying, that like if you have like certain heritages or something like that, you can get away with
Yeah, I guess so.
Forrest went to BYU High for 1 year. Wow. You survived. I mean, you said you didn't serve a mission, right? But I mean, I think that counts as a year. Go live in any one of those places. Jared served longer because he did BYU Idaho and a mission.
Idaho was worse though. Idaho actually had different standards. Like
that town blew my mind when I went to it, and everything was just like hot chocolate, and I had no idea.
Rexburg is the most boring town. That's where I was born.
Christopher has long hair. We should have him just go walk around as an experiment and see what happens.
I only ever visited Rexburg, and wow. Do they still have that? Like, because when I went, it was 25 years ago, and they're just hilarious because like they had these postcards, and it was just like a picture of the empty main street with an old pickup truck making a left turn. Because like this really is like visit Rexburg, and like no false advertising. Like that's all it is.
Oh yeah. Well, all Rexburg is now is student housing.
I was gonna say it's probably different because like I was there in the 90s. That's the last time I saw Rexburg because my brother was in college there, and I was just like, what is this place? It seems awful. I think it's because I remember like my brother's like, like I was like, why the hell do you want me? Like you don't even like me, but he's like, come visit me, and I realized like he was out. That's how desperately bored he was.
All right, so should we get past Mormony stuff? Is there any more Mormony stuff on the docket to talk about that you guys wanted to hit on?
I started listening to Zelf, but I was like,
What was their episode about?
It was that girl defined lady again.
Fun.
And Sam actually made me chuckle because I guess the girl defined is talking about sex and stuff like that, and how she's like religious, and she was talking about what sex is okay and what isn't, and she said like, we'll answer certain questions like, is anal sex okay? And the somebody in the chat was like, anal's not okay, it says so right in the Bible, it's sodomy, and she's like, well, I don't know, she said something kind of pushing back a little bit, and so Sam called her an anal apologist, and that made me chuckle. That was almost my name for the night.
Anal apologist. What is your guys' names? Mine was just Perseus, because that's who killed the Kraken, killed Cthulhu, cutting off the head of a feminist and sticking it up and facing it at the Cthulhu and saying, let's see. Kimball says, Rexburg is a utopian dream world. I love it. Yeah. You're an evangelical compersionist?
You never heard this word?
Mm-mm.
You haven't heard the word? Oh, well, the reason you haven't heard the word is because it's fucking bullshit. And what it means is the opposite of jealousy. It's used in polyamorous. So it started out as being just, it's the opposite. It's the feeling you get when your partner goes through something they enjoy. Now they use it almost exclusively like to be sexual. So they'll say, it's the feeling of warmth you get when your partner is pleased sexually, whether it's by you or someone else.
I get exactly what it is. It's a magic word. It's a word that's saying I am so caring, so loving, and so empathetic. I literally have no choice but to fuck everyone I can find and not feel bad about it.
It's a word that's some brilliant.
Is it so non-jealous you're supposed to push them into doing things that would make somebody else jealous, or is it just?
It's a word that was probably like I know exactly what the origin of this word is. It's some very intelligent guy, very manipulative guy, came up with it to convince his wife to let him fuck other people. He's like, "Oh, you just haven't experienced compersion yet." That's what one of the guys in the polyamory book I'm reading right now. One of the guys told that woman.
Too much.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, you haven't experienced compersion yet." And she's like, "What's that?" It's when you just get happy that your husband's fucking dudes.
Dudes. All right.
Women.
Risa asked if you could smoke cigars in the BYU classroom. I would be there if you could.
Yeah.
I've got a problem. Troy says I attended BYU in 1907. It was so much freaking fun. We were launching water balloons from the top of desert towers with surgical tubes and rated H halls and the pillow fights that made the news. Troy, every time you talk about your Mormon past, it's always like positive. Like you liked your mission, you liked BYU, you liked all that stuff.
Yeah, what's the fuck's the matter with you? Do you even have empathy?
Here's the honest truth of it. I sometimes get a little nostalgic for little moments, like, oh, I guess that was kind of cool or fun feeling or something like that. But I mostly hated every second of it.
I know, me too.
Every second of my mission, I hated every second of church.
I like when I went to sacrament meeting. When I went to sacrament meeting for the first time in a decade, and I'm kind of like, yeah. Like I was like, okay, that was fun. That was a fun hour. And like, but I also be like, I don't need to go to church for another 10 years. Like,
yep.
That's
I
like
my
some
film.
mutual sports playing, but if anybody like wanted to stop to do like some spiritual moment, I'd just be like, "Rah!" And I'd be animated about it. I've said before, I got kicked out of my sophomore year institution, whatever they call it, institute. What do they call it at school? Seminary. Because, and I got a letter. I wonder if my parents still have it. I got a letter saying that I didn't allow the spirit in the classroom. Man, that was
trying to get in, and you were just holding the door shut and laughing.
I was. I don't know why, but
Not today, spirit.
Yeah, that was fun though.
Frig off, spirit.
Risa says you check out Eastern Orthodox service. I don't know much about their service. I listened to a lot of them.
I haven't done an Orthodox one. I've done a lot of Western tradition services, but I've not done an Orthodox. Did you?
You can't join Orthodox because of a sincere disagreement, but you enjoy it. What's the part you sincerely disagree with on Orthodox? Orthodox, if there's anything that's kind of like strangely in that Gnostic world, but they've been doing it for 1,000 years, it's them. Charles Wagner says that sounds like a furry term, compersionist. It does sound furry.
Oh, did you? He didn't even know, like, because on the subject of furries, I have no idea how or why. But Reddit started sending me alerts from the Therian community.
Oh, and yeah, I've got those.
Boy, is that fascinating stuff. Boy, that's fascinating. But the most fascinating thing is that Reddit, because like clearly, somebody had to make the choice. Is that like, you know what? Let's just bomb people's algorithms with this shit. Because I don't use Reddit.
Like, a small reminder that your stereotype is not separate from you.
That's right. You said that. Yeah. Like I was just laughing at like, oh, I needed that reminder. It's just like, like, honey, did you remember to get milk? No, I remembered. It's in the fridge. And do you remember that you are not separate from your stereotype? Oh, fuck. Fuck. This whole week.
Therians are individuals who believe they are not completely human and instead identify as a species or non-human animal, otherkin, and individuals who believe they are not completely human. I always wonder, why don't, I think I pointed out somewhere before, it's like, I sleep all day, I like to stretch and yawn, I purr, I make these different sounds, and if I look up the types of animals that do that, a skunk's one of them. Skunk does all that stuff. Why am I not a skunk, otherkin?
Yeah,
I figured it out. So the reason the word compersion sounds so fucking retarded is because the term compersion was coined and defined in the early 1990s by the Carista community, a San Francisco-based polyamorous group that has since disbanded, as the feeling of taking joy in the joy of others you love share among themselves.
Disbanded, or did it fall apart in a sea of anger and recrimination?
Yeah, I mean, we're not bonobos, all right?
Yeah.
Here's somebody you guys sent me on Reddit who's complaining that their friend is faking their Therianism.
Oh yeah, no, that was the first alert I ever got from the Therian subreddit. And
that sounds like a big problem.
I don't think my friend is a real pretend wolf.
I love it. That's a good one.
Mockery of us.
Oh, have you got the one? Who was it that shared the one that cracked us up? Like, it's a perfect Poe, where it was from some Reddit queer group, and it's the person who's like, "I'm a male to female,
I've got it.
Preoperative transgender. I'm attracted to women, and I feel masculine. Is that okay?" It's like,
I'm a male to female lesbian. Can I be butch?
Yeah, like just a guy. You are a heterosexual
he's like,
man.
He's like, I am a male that wants to fuck females. is it okay if I look like a male that wants to fuck female?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's a
all right,
perfect
buddy.
photo. Like it's a perfect.
It's been
photo,
all
'cause,
right
like,
for
there's
quite a
no way to
while.
know. Yeah.
So you guys want to talk entertainment world? Do you want to talk fat acceptance? Do you want
Yes.
to talk?
I mean, that acceptance is pretty entertaining.
Yeah. I guess this goes along with our diety stuff.
I'm not
Diet.
good at diet.
Has yours been failing?
Not. I mean, yeah, not horrifically, but I did have a total. I had a Reese's relapse on Sunday.
Hold on a second. Reese answered. I can't join them because I was. They focus on venerating icons. Yeah, I mean that's. I guess that goes back to one of those the Nicene Creed thing or whatever, that time frame. They chant hymns, burn candles, have cool art, intense, and all that stuff. I don't know, but I think a lot of other churches, the Mormon Church being one of them, kind of shunned their art stupidly. Kimball's somebody who could tell you about all of that sort of deal. I actually have something here because the Lotus. Have you guys seen that the Lotus Eaters have been pushing art on their channel just to sell as like a side thing, and every one of their episodes it will go to like art. And I was looking at it.
Is it cringe? That just because on the
They're
surface,
dog shit.
Oh,
They're selling these, saying these are really nice. We want something. We want to focus on beauty. And like once again, I just go, man, they're proving like the right can't do art. Oh my gosh.
Wait, so okay, because you're looking for a 55-year-old woman in Wendover, a lot of makeup. Like that's the shirt she's wearing. She's wearing a polyester jumpsuit, and it's got that tiger is.
They're selling these as art, as like prints, as art.
So this is just AI bullshit too, right? Clearly, like
no, they said it was the hand drawn, but I mean they showed a person painting it, but it looks. I mean, obviously if they're recreating this stuff, but it looks like it's AI added stuff.
So
I think this one was actually painted the boat. The rest of them I think are AI, but I'm like, what?
No,
did you ever go to like those Asian gift shops and they'd like have the things backlit or like have lights around?
Painted on velvet and meant to be funny art. Like if these were on velvet, I would hang it ironically in my house just as like, hey, look at this garbage.
The right can't do art, and we keep wanting to say yes they can, and then you keep
no
them right.
Jeez.
I'm pretty comfortable saying that generally speaking, the right can't do art very well.
Troy says that September 6th of 93 triggered me to ask hard questions I really wanted to believe, but felt compelled by the evidence and my sense of integrity to leave. I wasn't angry, just very disappointed.
The
Troy,
September 6th.
Stop having so much integrity. Integrity gets you nowhere in life.
Yeah, the September 6th was like the last group of people who were actually like unjustly excommunicated.
I saw right at the end of the last podcast when I was talking about wrestling and wrestling documentaries, I missed that Troy said that he got to work with all the wrestlers making video games with them, and I was like, "Oh, you lived my dream, Troy." Oh my
Did
goodness!
you do the motion capture stuff?
Yeah. Kimball says he's interested in orthodoxy. Kimball is also somebody who is very good at art. They should have commissioned some of his paintings, but it'd probably be too expensive. I think they take their claim. Risto says, I think they take their claims too far, but I really appreciate much of what they have to offer. But I mean, I think it would speak to somebody who's a real artist and that sort of stuff. Kimball, you should let me show them some of your stuff here and there at one point or another, and then you'd be like, wow, that's what they should be selling. Let's look at fatties.
Fatties. Fat.
We can't hear the sound.
It's
sound.
Right? Has it got the lady on it?
Yeah, she's there. We see it.
Is there just no sound?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, it's saying her stuff. She says doctors should never be prescribed weight loss to anyone ever. Doctors at any point in time. Here's why. When we recommend any procedure, treatment, medication, whatever, we need to be thinking about the pros and the cons, the benefits and risks. So what are the benefits and the intentional weight loss? Well, the main one is you become thinner.
Yeah, you know, like what?
Rarely,
What are the risks of going from 350 pounds to 320 pounds? You could just like straight up, if you're that fat, you could straight up just not eat for weeks.
By the way, so what are we? We're almost 30 years. Like, because example number 10,436 out of infinity of comedy being decades ahead of reality. You remember Simpsons with Dr. Nick? We have many options for dangerously underweight individuals, such as yourself.
That part where he tells him to rub it on a
Yeah.
paper bag, and if you could see through it, it's
That's
greasy
fish
enough
flavor.
to eat.
Remember,
Yeah.
if you can see through it, it's your window to weight gain. I love all that stuff. Instead of chewing gum, chew bacon.
I remember that episode. That's so good. Do you hear it now?
All of the weight that they lost within 5 years,
Yeah.
because of them actually gaining back more than they lost in the first place. There are some possible temporary health benefits, but none of them are long lasting. They're like 12 months, 18 months, but no longer than that for the vast majority of people. In fact, most of the data out there focuses A, on the short-term benefits, and B, more on health risks rather than health outcomes. And by that, I mean they'll focus on your blood pressure or your A1C or your cholesterol rather than focusing on, say, heart attacks or strokes or cancer.
Gee, I wonder why. Why did they pick
Well,
those
there are
things as
studies.
indicators of overall health? How could they possibly have pulled those things out of all the things they could possibly measure for? Why do they care about that? Could it be that those pop up in mortality more than other things? You know, they're like, like, okay, did you have high blood pressure? Yes. Did you pet a cat 3 times a year at least? Yes. Okay, one of those things is associated with an early death, and the other one is not. That's why they look at that. You dope. Anyway.
It's also like a certain level of obesity makes certain medical treatments impossible.
Yeah,
right?
no, that's the whole thing. Where, like,
it's
people
difficult
need
to
surgery. Like, they need a surgery, and the doctor's like, "You are too your fatness makes the surgery too risky." Oh,
I'll go ahead.
sorry. No, that's
This
you gotta
is
turn the volume
all. I
on.
mean, there's been a lot of these slideshows lately of all the fat acceptance people who've died like under 40.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of them.
If you turn the sound on, you got the mutes.
Oh, I did that on purpose. But
Oh,
I
is it
just
gonna?
went
Oh, okay.
underneath, but
In word diet. Last year I lost 90 pounds, and that's a lot. And I did use medication. I know there's been like a lot of chatter about this. I don't think I ever hit it, but maybe I never said it directly that I am on medication. I'm on a lot of medication, to be really honest.
I know.
Some of it is for weight loss.
Yeah,
and
we
the
know.
person who's giving
yeah, there's a bunch of them. I mean, that's a whole video they had
Yeah,
there.
this-
But there's a
Wow.
whole highlighting of all of it.
Sarah Rosie Bemis. She started.
Oh, Rosie Bemis or Beamy, us, whatever the heck. The one who says she wanted to lose weight so she could wipe her own rear end that I made a video about recently.
Oh, yeah.
Her platform as a fat creator so she could share plus size clothes, and she could share like fat person exercising, and she could share like a fat person traveling and doing things so that people like me or other fat people know that losing weight doesn't always have to be the goal. Like, you can go to the gym and you can wear cool clothes and you can do all that stuff. Like, if your doctor tells you to lose weight, or you just feel like, yo, I gotta lose weight to feel better, like, okay. My doctor also tells me to take probiotics so that I don't poop myself every morning, but I don't really like tell a lot of people that.
What
Well,
the
you
fuck?
just told me that. I could have probably gone without knowing it.
I'll link him below. He's sarcastic like me. And he's got a Mario.
Anyway, that lady just kind of keeps going on about all of her claims of that we know are
Yeah,
horse
she's
crap.
talking about how there's no adverse health issues to being fat. Then she goes on to say that she's fat, and then she starts talking about her adverse health issues. She's like, yeah, my doctor tells me to eat probiotics so I don't shit myself every morning. Like, yeah, most people don't have that.
Yeah. That's another South Park. I don't even remember what episode it was, but like, because for some reason Cartman's diet is restricted, and he's complaining like, "This morning I pooed and it just came out as one solid piece, no liquid." It's supposed to be like that.
Yeah. Hold on. I like this meme here. Hold on. Check this out. Crapping on that. Vegans combining 5+ carcinogens and 10+ industrial chemical foods to make food instead of just eating an egg.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's that's one of those things. I mean, for a long time, I've been having a fight with. I mean, like 10 years ago, my ex-girlfriend was a vegetarian, and like I don't remember. I can't remember. I think I was eating bratwurst or something. She's like, "Oh, you eat that processed food," and I just went to the freezer and I pulled out her vegan hot dogs and just started reading the ingredients because it's a brick of text that takes up half of the fucking box, you know. And to her credit, she took the message and she never harassed me about eating processed food again after that. So
that's funny. Sister Higdon sent this one over.
You can also tell if you're overweight by the way people describe you.
Arbuckle, you really ought to go out with my daughter sometime. She's really nice.
That means she's fat.
In fact, she's really sweet.
It means she's incredibly fat.
And very graceful.
So fat you wouldn't believe it.
Oh, and she has a wonderful personality.
If you come to pick her up, bring a moving van.
Okay,
now
Bill
take her
Murray
to
or
lecture
Lorenzo?
on
That's
John's
Bill
Day.
Murray, right?
No.
No, I think it's the other
is that
guy.
Lorenzo Music? There's two guys that were Garfield, Bill Murray and Lorenzo Music.
Bill Murray
That
just
sounded
did
like
it in the
Lorenzo
shitty
did.
movies.
Yeah, I think Bill only did it in the movie.
Oh, he only did the movies. That's right. The cartoons was always Lorenzo Music.
Yeah. No,
By the way,
that's
great name. What a great name, Lorenzo Music.
that's pretty cool. No, that's what got Morgan into this rabbit hole of woke bullshit in the first place. Sister Higdon. She it's the fat acceptance stuff. She heard me rant
Is that how we're
about
gonna
it.
maintain our patriarchy? Is it doesn't matter how long you guys out of the church, we're just gonna call her Sister Higdon no matter what.
I'll call her Sister Higdon from now on. Just I call people that at work. I re-Mormon people and call them elders. Like that, but
You re-territorialize them into Mormonism.
No, she heard me rant about this shit for years and didn't really. I mean, she's like, "Yeah, that stuff's stupid. I don't get why you focus on it so much." And then she found that Michelle McDaniel thing, and she's like, "Oh my god, have you heard of fat acceptance?" I was like, "Yes, I have." And she just
I just want to see it
obsessively-
work.
Well, you can
Somebody
get this
comes up and he's
Ozempic
like,
stuff. Have you heard of Ozempic?
"Oh
my
yeah,
God.
Here it
Oh
goes.
yeah.
Woman suffers life-threatening bowel injury, will have diarrhea forever after using Ozempic lawsuit.
It paralyzes your fucking
Oh.
bowels. No, everybody at work is having that. And I ranted about this so much. I was like, wait a minute, you're taking a shot for weight loss? And they're like, yeah. I was like, how does it work? They're like, it just makes you not really want to eat much. I don't know why. And I was like, that has to be bad for you. And they're like, no, I don't think they'd give it to me if it were that bad. I was like, what are the side effects? I was like, well, my husband gets migraines a lot now, and he has constant diarrhea. But he's lost like 30 pounds. And I was like, he could just eat less.
Yeah.
And then I look it up, and the way that Ozempic works is it tricks your gut. It tricks your stomach into thinking that it's not only like full, but stuffed. So it's a lot more slow to empty itself. It slows down your entire digestive tract. And I was like, yeah, that's got to be bad for you. And I'm like looking
It
up
gives you
these.
something. Have you heard of this term before, Flip?
Face.
Gastroparesis.
Yeah.
Oh, we know
that's-
about that.
We know
It
somebody who
paralyzes
that
your
actually, it
fucking
actually
gut.
causes that in people.
The person we know that they have no idea where theirs came from, right?
Mm-hmm. It just basically means like the stomach, the way it convulses to move stuff, it doesn't do those convulsions well.
Yeah, it just. But the face thing, because that's the other thing. It's like I don't know how women look at other women who have done this and go, "Oh, I'll do that. That'll work for me." Sure, it made your face look like a living corpse, but I'm sure it won't do that to me.
I think
What are
it's
you
just
talking
when
about?
you're
That's what women want to look like. I have some pictures to prove it.
When you're surrounded-
this is an advertisement I got. Just copied it on Facebook. I'm getting advertised for it.
I think when you're surrounded by stupid people, doing stupid things, you just, I don't know, you can be convinced of anything. Like,
Yeah.
because it's so obvious to everybody outside Hollywood that that facial plastic surgery is a terrible idea all the time. But clearly they're just sort of captured by their peers, and they're like,
This
yeah,
one made
well,
me super duper sad. Starfire from The Boys. Did you
oh
see
yeah,
the picture
Aaron
of it?
Moriarty.
You tell me they don't want to look like
that's
those
real.
fakes?
So that's real. Like
Yeah.
that was one I saw floating around, and it almost looked like.
No, that's real.
That one I don't even think is Ozempic. I think
That's
that
it.
Well,
one's
they
like-
did that. We talked about that surgery before. They do like
Yeah,
a
they do
cheek
that vocal.
removing
It's
surgery.
they have the feet removed.
There's a
the
term
fat
for
removed.
it.
No, but that's the thing is because like what she doesn't understand is that she has effectively aged herself into that. You remember the 60-year-old woman in the polyester jumpsuit with the tiger on her shirt at Wendover? That's her face. I'm looking at that woman's face.
Buccal fat. Do you remember?
Yeah.
It's called buccal
You
fat.
you put that woman on a slot machine in Wendover with a Virginia Slim in her mouth, and and there she goes. That's her.
Yeah, once you get facial surgery, it's you can't really guess your age, so everybody just assumes you're like 65.
Oh, that's things like because in my job, like because I ID people all the time, and sometimes I'm stunned. I am stunned, and that's the thing is like I see so many women that are 10 years younger than me, but they've done the work and they look like a 6-year-old woman because of it. And it's like, and it's like I don't know how to tell you. Like you didn't need to do it. You wasted your money and you ruined your face, and now you're stuck. And I don't know what to tell you. Oh no, wait, sorry, that's not what I say. I say that good job, patriarchy.
Here's all the
You
women
made
in
that
Hollywood
woman do
getting
that.
the buccal fat removed.
Oh, I hate it all. I hate it all. It's all so bad.
Yeah, it's who told women that cheeks are unattractive?
Women did.
Like what
Yeah,
what is wrong with this on the left here of Jennifer? What's her name? Lawrence.
Every single one looks worse after. They all look worse after.
It's so sad. I think let me see here. Jared sent a meme about that one. What was that meme that you hold on?
Oh, the plastic surgeons after convincing women that it's ugly to have cheeks.
Yeah.
It's just Ryan Gosling holding a pile of money.
Here it is. I got it. Get it faster at this. There it is. Plastic surgeons after convincing rich people that it's ugly to have cheeks. Yeah. Funny stuff.
That's a hilarious meme format too, because one of my favorite ones, it was that, except for it said like professional therapists after they invent blue hair dye.
Yeah. Well, there's a particular brand of vodka from Texas.
Keep talking. I'll be right back.
That is inexplicably, well, I should say inexplicably, I'll tell you the answer I found out. But it's just wildly popular because it started out as just a small local distillery, and now they're one of the most popular vodkas in America, and it's because they were the first vodka company to be so cynical and crooked as, I mean, not even crooked. I mean, I don't know, because it's not against the law, but it just seems so cynical and wrong. They were the first maker of vodka to think of putting gluten-free on the label. And I'm not fucking kidding. They were the first people to think, oh, we'll just put gluten-free on the label, and it made them billionaires.
I don't doubt that. I remember when the whole gluten thing hit, you start seeing gluten free on shit like candy.
I saw
on
fresh
fruit roll-ups.
package. I saw gluten free on a fresh package of mushrooms, like button mushrooms in the produce section. Gluten free mushrooms. It's just like, oh gosh, I'm so glad they finally invented these. I can finally eat mushrooms.
Well, it's kind of like how every soda now just puts 0 sugar on the can. Like that's the name of the soda. It's Coke 0 sugar.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh yeah, I'll get that instead of Diet Coke. And you're like, they both have 0 sugar in them. Or like that great classic example of, was it A&W who wanted to compete with McDonald's quarter pounder, so they made the third pounder for
but
a smaller price, but everybody thought that was a smaller burger, so it didn't work.
They were confused and they thought that a third was smaller than a fourth.
Oh
yeah.
So he mentioned Thomas Valentin mentioned that seltzer called Liquid Death. Genius idea. Sell people seltzer water at 10 times the price. I remember seeing that. I'm in a bar with my friends. I look up and I see an advertisement like, "Ooh, let's get some Liquid Death." And they're like, "No." And I was like, "Is it not good?" They're like, "It's water." I was like,
Yeah.
What? It's just.
I got 2 cans of Liquid Death one day because it was hot and I was thirsty and I was in the 7-Eleven and they were like, 2 for $3. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna try these. And like I like them in the sense that, it's like there is just plain water, but some of them are like flavored but not sweetened, and also not artificially sweetened. And so like, yeah, no, I like that. Like I don't get them a lot because it's kind of a weird expense and I'll just drink water. But like, because one of my big complaints about most of the like beverage aisle is that everything is just way too sweet. Like, I don't know. Did you notice in Brazil, when you went to Brazil, did you notice like a general drop off in sugar content?
Absolutely. I don't know about like drinks, but definitely like candy.
Yeah.
Like you go in candy and pastries, all of that shit.
So like I remember like
sugar.
there was for a period of time you could get Brahma brand Guaraná that was produced in America, and it was made like it was an American formula because it was made with corn syrup instead of the cane sugar. And the American Brahma was overly sweet and not good. And so like, yeah, like there was a period of time where you could buy American Brahma or you could pay 3 times as much for imported Brahma, and the imported stuff was better just because it was less sweet.
Rista's lost 5 pounds. Way to go. Anybody pushing and doing it? I mean, if anybody out there is overweight, I don't mean to be dumping on you. We're just dumping on the fat acceptance people. I've been definitely chubby and bulky in my lifetime. And this is something you can get on top of, and you're definitely healthier if you do. But
I need to figure something out. I just like diet. Like I get bored too fast. I'm just like, I need the variety.
The real problem is boredom over everything.
Our
really comments on those pictures are making them laugh. Fat acceptance, death acceptance. Troy says random sci-fi movie recommendation 1996 Contact. Damn, that was a good movie. That was written by Carl Sagan.
I haven't seen that.
It's pretty good.
I do remember being disappointed by the ending where it's just the dad. And I thought that the Matthew McConaughey character was a little bit too on the nose.
Why wouldn't?
But overall,
you haven't seen it? Are you haven't seen it?
I saw it in the theater. I think I saw midnight showing. I think I saw a midnight showing of that movie. Come to think of it. And remember movie theaters?
That seltzer called Liquid Death is genius idea. I'm definitely obese. We can all just get a little better tomorrow than today.
But God, that's the other thing that keeps coming up with me at work, and it's kind of weird because like I wonder if there's something in the zeitgeist because it seems like 3 people have asked me in the last 2 days, but about low carb alcohol, and I'm just like, you can literally run a tractor with ethanol. Like, just like, because I tried to, I'm like, well, what's the low carb alcohol? I'm like, sugar and ethanol. Those are the carbs. Like, if you don't have sugar and you don't have carbs, then you don't have to worry about it. But like, I just have to keep telling people there's no free lunch. Like, alcohol is literal fuel. It has calories. You just need to drink less if you're worried about it. You
can drink hard Bacardi if you're gonna be drinking. It's the easiest way to go if you just want to get a buzz and have the least fat. I know that's at the top of Get Drunk Not Fat website.
Anything without sugar in it is the way to go. But like, alcohol is a fuel.
I finished Fargo season 5 this week. It was hot dog shit. And now I've started a new hot dog shit, which is this movie, our TV show, which is season 4 of True Detective, which is just doing the same stuff again. And it got review bombed, and that's what they're complaining about here. It's being directed by, I guess, a Mexican woman, whereas the other 3 seasons I don't get it. I've said before, like if they released new Beatles and we got just like, 4 different Black women and a Filipino there and said, here's your new Beatles, and we said, no, that's not the new Beatles. Bigot. This had particular showrunners and directors, and it was set in Louisiana for 3 seasons. Now it's in Alaska, has a different director and showrunner, and but yeah, it's the same show, sure, whatever. But Steven sent to me, and it drove me nuts that I guess there's references to Blood Meridian all through it, which, I can, another reason to just end it all. But this show, so I don't know if you guys are watching any of their shows and just being inundated with how great they are.
I mean, I'm rewatching Parks and Rec, and because I remember I went through it one time in the past, and I remember the last couple seasons dropping off, so I'm kind of preparing for that. But I'm in like season 3 or 4, like when they're in their stride, and damn, that show is really good and did a really great job. But I also know, like I think we mentioned it before, like if they made that show now, like
Ron would have to be a piece of shit.
Yeah, Ron would have to be a racist, Trumper, all these terrible things, because like we're so far past the idea of a likable conservative.
There was an open letter written by a member of the Writers Guild of America. I'm just going to listen to a little bit of it here.
Context. Yes. So we had this story come out where a WGA writer, a white WGA writer, just plainly put out, this is what's been going on in the Writers Guild since 2019. This dramatic shift, which is, it's not requiring people, but they're strongly encouraged. And if you're a new member that's going to join the WGA, you have to fill out a demographic survey. And we ran screenshots of it. And then this was an editorial that was just a letter to the industry. Since that letter ran, we have received anonymous and some, not so anonymous, where people have like, here's my credits, here's who I am, so you know what I'm talking about. I've been nominated for Emmys. I've written on 6 shows. Here's the names of the shows. Let me tell you what's going on. This particular person sent me a 2-part letter. I don't know if I should read it all, Gary. It's longish. But
just give us
I'll jump forward.
I'll give you the highlights.
Highlights. There you go.
What we're doing is we're compiling things from these letters that Alan and I have both received, and we're going to be putting out an article next week. We're trying to ping pong the D files and all this other stuff, but no one else is reporting on this. But here's what it says. And it's from WGA Anon. I am a WGA member and wish to be anonymous. My email isn't real, and I don't want to accidentally give up an IP address and end up on a modern blacklist. I have a few stories that illustrate the hostility to non-diverse writers that may be of interest. Number 1, writers hired on comic book shows are told it's a positive that they are unfamiliar with the original comic book and not a fan of the existing IP because they want to do a, quote, modern take on the material relevant to today. Number 2, writers are asked, A, why this story today? How is it relevant politically today to the existing narrative they're pushing on our culture? And B, why are you the person to tell it? And then, quote, because I have talent and wrote it is not a valid answer. What is a valid answer is, quote, because I'm a member of this aggrieved group or class and only we can tell our own story. Okay. Now,
it goes on to talk about how there's people who've like created apps and stuff to like get like rent a minority to have like all sorts of different scenes and that sorts of stuff to have anybody come on set so that they're able to suddenly write about something at any given point. But then the crescendo is this right here.
Is the anti-Semitism behind much of the push to diversity. Jews are classified as, quote, whites and thus not a minority, despite being 2% of the world's population and historically victims of mistreatment and genocide. The mantra is, and this is a quote, this is what people in the industry are saying, male and pale is stale.
Whoa! Is that the name of the app?
No. No, this is what people say. Out with the old order and in with the new. Anyone who questions this new orthodoxy will, of course, be denounced as not promoting a diverse workspace or worse, racist.
So we fight racism with racism.
Yeah, haven't you read Kendi?
Yeah. So that's why your shows all suck. But they're also doing the DEI stuff everywhere, man. I mean, our planes will suck too, but whatever.
Well, holy shit! Yeah, that makes me not want to fly.
I didn't see the movie. I only saw a BBC article about it. But I guess they made a new Mean Girls.
Yeah, they did.
And apparently, like part of the problem, like the movie's not doing well because they made the girls aren't mean anymore.
Yeah,
because you can't have mean girls because you can't show women in anything less than a positive, powerful light.
Yeah, they're probably mean to bullies or something like that.
Yeah. They're probably mean to transphobes.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, this is the cycle here. Girl power movie comes out, men don't watch it, women don't watch it, women attack men for not watching it.
That was the Marvels. That was funny as hell.
Like this thing for me, like this goes back 10 years of being a women's soccer fan, and like it's driven me crazy all this time. Is that like if 1% of feminists who got online and complained about how nobody watches women's soccer simply watch soccer, we wouldn't have the conversation. You know?
Yeah, I remember
that's
Flip taking me to a girls' soccer game, and we were the guys there. Where were the women?
Yeah, yeah. Like the women's soccer game when they were here, it was Mormon families with daughters, more lesbians than you're used to seeing in one place, and a bunch of dudes. And just a bunch of dudes that can't get enough soccer. But where were all the feminists? They were not there. They were not there. They were online complaining about how women don't make enough money to play soccer. Did they buy a ticket? No. Did they watch the games? No. Did they protest when they threw out the owner that spent $75 million of his own money on soccer in Utah and single-handedly brought in the women's team? No, they throw that guy under the bus. They take his team away from him and smear him forever. But that's a whole other story.
Yeah, I want to hit that smearing people. I mean, I watched the whole story. I knew the story maybe later or just mention it, but the Clouding Gay, the person she canceled was Roland Fryer. And I actually knew his story of cancellation from long ago.
I watched that
before realizing it was Clouding Gay who did it to him.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah. I forgot that was Harvard that happened at.
Yeah,
and that was the guy who found out the police statistics that nobody wanted to hear about.
Yeah, was he the guy that more likely to? Was he the guy who did the big review of shootings and found that if anything, white cops were marginally less likely to shoot a black person?
Yep, and then. And then he got this Me Too thing come up, and the Me Too thing, they didn't find anything that was wrong with him, just some kind of general in the place that they were working where they'd play video games and chit chat and talk, and just generally in the place there'd be just kind of like some green humor or something like that. He never hit on any chick ever, and he got exonerated from it, yet they still, after that, from Clouding Gay, decided to give him a 2-year suspension.
Because they can't, and in that thing they mentioned she tried to get him fired to have his tenure revoked entirely, but the thing is like they mentioned, it's still career death, you know. But no, like I don't know, I hope they get some traction there, just to get that news out there, because like I mean that thing's like, because in that documentary they mentioned like the way he designed that study about with black students and the acting white thing. And you know, like they did the whole thing where
they lose friends because they got better grades and stuff.
And like just the way he came up with, because you know, like they talk about how like you know they used to like, how do you measure popularity? Well, you ask people if they're popular, which is obviously a terrible thing. So he just did a thing where like he asked all the kids in a school like, who are your 3 best friends? And then like he was able to like he created an algorithm that was like able to rank people, because like you know, if somebody was a lot of people's best friends, you can tell that that's a very popular person. And then, like, so he was able to get all this data and show that among young African Americans, B average is the limit for having friends. If you get A's, you lose friends.
Yeah, and he had a lot of different ideas and stuff of how to make schools better for black kids, like actually better, not you know.
Yeah.
Well, that's a person. It's a person who gives a shit about his racial group, like, who actually gives a shit about him, rather than who gives a shit about grievance. Because if grievance is your religion, then like you have to confirm yourself as a victim constantly. And if anything you find indicates that you might not be that much of a victim, or the victimhood might be pointing in the other direction, and there's a better way to solve it, no, we have to dismantle the structures, the systemic systems of systems.
It's funny because he studied under Levitt, the guy who does Freakonomics, and that guy, I looked it up. He actually did a whole podcast on him and talked about how he was railroaded by Harvard and that sorts of stuff. So credit to the Freakonomics guys for saying that. This is how to tell a female character has gotten stronger. She now has a bowl cut and shows her shoulders. It's another one like strong woman in Hollywood shows movie starter pack. Half shaved haircut, shoulders as big as a man's. Lesbian, bisexual, displays all characteristics of a toxic male, arrogant, rude, self-centered, selfish, violent, etc.
Yeah.
Basically, have characteristics that if a man had them, he would be hateable.
Nobody like them. They'd be the villain.
I mean, yeah. Feminism is a supremacist ideology. It's exactly that.
It's like the opposite of that stupid Taylor Swift song that "If I Were a Man." She acts like I don't know that. Have you seen that music video? It's terrible.
No,
it says Fargo spoiler: a biscuit made with love. The crazy guy. Yeah, the final scene. The only interesting, the whole entire thing is the final scene, and it's a little interesting, but it's not worth the whole season watching. Just watch like the last 20 minutes.
I'm gonna watch it at some point because I'm very devoted to Fargo. But
it's terrible.
What channel is it on?
It's on Hulu.
The other Fargo seasons are still good. They're standalone seasons, so worth watching. So don't take that as don't watch Fargo. Fargo's always a standalone season, so they could be better next year again, possibly. So
yeah, it's kind of like Pinkerton and the Blue Album are still good.
Yeah,
I know Weezer have put out 28 years of pure garbage, but Pinkerton still holds up.
I like King of the World. That's a song from the White Album, I think.
I know I've tried to listen to a couple of the records, and I just couldn't do it. Yeah, I couldn't do it. I couldn't get through them.
No, they got really shitty, but I think it was the White Album. I actually like
just
a few
kinda
songs on that.
I mean, because the story, you kind of get it. The whole thing is that, the Blue Album, nobody saw that coming. They went from nothing to, being the most, revolutionary rock band on the scene. The Blue Album went super mega platinum. And then, of course, so they got full control over their next album, and they produced it themselves. And it's just funny because, it came out, and everybody hated it. The critics, and it was not a commercial success. And then, because famously, Rivers went into depression, disappeared, and then came back. He's like, "Oh, I'll just make pop sugary garbage." But he's like, all he had to do was wait another year for the universe to catch up to the fact that Pinkerton is one of the greatest albums of the '90s, and the production on it is amazing.
Yeah, see, I was a kid when everybody was telling me to listen to Weezer, but the only Weezer song I had heard was on the radio, which was Beverly Hills, and I was like, I don't think this song. This song sucks. Why would I listen to Weezer?
How Come This Song Stinks episode on Weezer. It's a great episode.
It's so good. Because it's even got a touching message. Because that guy, we're almost the same age. We were both 14 when the Blue Album came out. I think he was more into them than I was. But I love that record. I bought it. I was obsessed with it. I bought Pinkerton on the day it came out. I was totally into that. But because I just re-listened to Pinkerton a little while ago, and I don't know any other album that got that drum sound. Just that crazy big roomy drum sound. It's so amazing.
Watching a TV series, hoping that they don't get political. First half of the series, it shows a cute little girl. Second half, it shows a girl who's gone to college for a year. I like this. Somebody said this is a headline. I think it was in the New York Times, and somebody said, "Imagine resurrecting your grandpa and having him read this headline and ask why is that in the New York Times." It says Stranger Things star Noah Schnapp says he's been misconstrued on Israel.
Was a kid 17 or something?
Yeah.
I don't care what a 17-year-old thinks about Israel. Even if he says something really stupid, just excuse him.
Well, New York Times article level important nowadays.
Well, so what did he say? What's
no, just ridiculous headline. Couple funny girl TikToks, I think, for reals. I'm not even pulling your leg. You want to see them?
Yes, I do.
It's about entertainment stuff, both of them. This is. I gotta take that off the screen. Take that off.
We are so excited to be here to present this next award, Best Supporting Actor in a Limited Series or TV Show. The only problem with this category is that the series were limited. It would have been better if we could watch them even more. I agree. Though I'm not sure we need another reason to stay home and binge watch. Here are the nominees for Best Actor in a Limited Series, Anthology TV Movie, or Teeny Tiny Little Show, not like a regular show.
Because I don't want to. They should have added like applause in there. It would have been funnier.
You need something.
Yeah, I don't like it is. Aren't they actors? And how come it is all like that? Like, why would they not be able to pull something off better than it is exactly like that?
It sounds
time.
like it sounds like church jokes, talk jokes.
Generally,
the bishop
lately, I've
called me this morning.
But they should be able to act them better. They're actors.
Well, like, I've been listening to a bunch of Louis C.K. on radio shows, from 20 years ago. There's one where he's like just shitting on. It's funny because like he's producing a TV show at the time and he hires actors and he works with actors, but he's shitting on actors. And I just remember he said like an actor is like it's like a coffee cup it's like a cup waiting for someone to put coffee in it. Like that's what an actor like. You just talk about like just completely like because like amazing because like when you're like okay we need you to act like an aggrieved person who you just found out you have cancer and your daughter hates you and you've just lost your leg in an accident. Now act and like, oh, it's amazing. But then you talk to them in real life and they're just completely inane, just totally empty, vapid, soulless people. Yeah, it's just like it's such a weird thing. It's like, yeah. Because I think
I
maybe there's
actually have a theory on that, and I think the theory is like most times if actors actually do less, you're able to kind of put more onto their face and that sort of stuff. So if somebody's like maybe got more and they kind of overdo it too much, so like maybe the more blank they are, the more we're able to just kind of write our own emotions into them.
Now, you want to figure out the brilliance of good editing and stuff like that. You just look at the difference between like the Anna Nicole Smith outtakes on Skyscraper versus like Anna Nicole Smith in Skyscraper, and she's not good in the movie, but they took her from like a 0.5% goodness up to like a 30% good. Like seriously, she's so much better in it than she looks in those outtakes, which she's still terrible, but
yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how they did that.
I think this gal nails a Taylor Swift song pretty well.
Back car in the back of the car, and we're wearing red scarves, and we're feeling so hard. Yeah, we know that we're going around. You can't talk to me no more. Men are so difficult. Oh my God, we're all wearing red, and we're feeling so hot, and we are girls. We can't.
Actually, so I watched her documentary, like not the new one, but like from 5 years ago, she had a documentary that came out, and I remember like it shows her writing process, and I like she has some talent, but there's so much production that goes on because she goes to the producer and she does basically that. She's like, I got a new one coming, and it's like, I'm in the day today and I'm feeling all right. And he's like, okay, yeah. Like if I could just like mumble something catchy and like a team of producers could change it into something awesome, man, I could write music.
Yeah, no, that's really all there is to it. Like it just kind of bugs me, like the idea that like because you can't take anything away from Taylor Swift, right? She's a fantastic performer. She's worked very hard in her career.
She's real good to her fans.
I don't want to take anything away from her, but the idea that like she is a songwriter,
not just that. Like I'm not kidding. I think both Nuance Ho and Sam think that she's other level special.
Like they think
that
they do. Mentioned it and said it multiple times. Yeah.
People keep calling her the first ethical billionaire.
Right. They like to imagine that in just like we like to imagine emotions into a blank actor's face.
Exactly.
Anyway, you want to talk politics stuff, or do you want to get to rapping, or do you want to talk Jews?
Jews.
Sure,
I don't actually have much. Oh, did you want to hear who Richard Spencer
My dad's
said
getting
should
old,
be
and he says he
president?
wants to leave money to the local synagogue.
Who?
And I was like, my dad, like, cause like I don't. My dad's weird, and he mentioned like he brought this up because he was talking to my sister, and he said like he was telling my sister who has this power of attorney, and he's like, I want to leave some money to the synagogue, and I want to leave some money to the Freemasons. And my sister gave my 80-year-old dad, who's convinced he's on his way out, shit because the Freemasons are a patriarchal organization.
Oh yeah.
But then also because my whole thing is it's like, well, okay, Dad, it's your life, it's your money, but you're not Jewish, and they don't really need your money, Dad. Like I don't know, don't want to sound anti-Semitic. I don't know why it would be anti-Semitic to say the Jews, they got the money part pretty well wrapped up. Like they're not hurting. Like if you I'm just saying. I think but whatever. It's you. It's your life. It's your money. You do what you want. But I think $1,000 of your dollars is not going to register to the Jews.
Jews are a weird topic because I feel like everybody is retarded on the Jews.
Yeah,
right. Because it makes me think, maybe they are God's chosen people or whatever. Because nobody seems to understand how to treat them like they're just normal people.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I treat them like they're normal people, and I will defend them when they do. Like I will defend Israel when people are saying that they deserve to be glassed. But I will also say, hey, it should be illegal to slurp baby dick.
Oh,
and so I'm called anti-Semitic for doing that shit. Cool it with the anti-Semitism, bud.
Because there's also that a weird thing where it's if you say well, the Jews, they have a lot of money, versus the Jews have a lot of money. Because that's the thing. It's there's some people all they hear is the conspiracy. It's well, the only it's the lefty type. The only reason anybody got money is because they did something crooked or nefarious. It's no, I can just kind of understand that as a culture they value the values and the decisions that lead to financial health.
Kind of like East Asians.
God bless them. Yeah.
Here's the first important thing that I have is that someone made a video game of tunnel rabbis.
Ninjas for Trump looks to be happening. Any chance Ninja for Trump chimp out against Trump president protesters?
Wrong way. It's coming up.
The Ninja. Is that their new name now? Here's the meme, by the way. Here's the other meme, which I thought was amazing. Look at that. Look at this.
Clip coins. I didn't know. Amazing. You say people have just stopped talking about it, and they have, but because it's just passed seamlessly into meme magic. This is just going to be a standard meme forever now.
Well, 2024 peaked with that. That one clip of the guy coming out of the tunnel.
Out of the Jew-shaped.
Nothing's ever going to top that. That's that is history of the internet. Amazing. So
it's right up there with the Trump Ruth Bader Ginsburg video. Yeah, and dramatic gopher. Oh yes, indeed.
George Adams says Trump putting Vivek in as the head of the White House call center. Exactly.
Putting in Viva as the White House call center director.
Yeah.
Vivek. Avalon B got in big trouble for saying that Trump would put him in as directing the 7-Eleven at the White House. Did you see the tunnels? Do you want to see them?
Yeah, they're pretty wild. I don't get it.
Of the tunnels?
There they are.
Oh, so this is actual. This isn't.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So wow. What? So do we have an explanation yet? Who did it? What was the purpose?
Saying that
was Pizzagate for sure.
Do you know how they have ways to get around certain rules and stuff like that? That there's certain things that you can do down in the tunnels that you can't do in the thing. I heard and I actually heard this coming from a Jewish person.
Oh, you mean like the whole I know there's a thing in Orthodox Jewish communities because there's a whole thing about, you can only take so many steps from your home on the Sabbath. So
Yeah,
like every day on the
stuff of, like,
Sabbath,
getting around laws.
yeah, like so one of the things I've heard that they actually do in Orthodox Jewish communities, like in New York and stuff, is that they will literally run a string around an entire like city neighborhood, and then they bless that string and say everything inside the string is our house. So that way you can move around freely and go about your business as long as you don't go outside of the neighborhood.
There's
It's
some
like,
weird
it's like
spirit of the
weird
law
little
shit
work.
that people don't understand. I had a companion who he thought he found this great like spiritual life hack, and he told me about it. He was all excited. He's like, well, somebody told me about how you can just go to like a supermarket and you can just bless all of the food there. So then you don't have to like pray over your food every time. And I was like, yeah, that sounds awesome, man. We can go do that. And then I never have to talk to God again.
Yeah,
And
like, why don't we just bless the dirt now for all the food that ever comes out of it?
yeah, I know. We could take this back to quite the logical conclusion, but and I even pointed out, I was like, well, okay, but is that just the stuff that's in here today? Because after today, you don't know how much, like what ran out of stock, what,
Yeah.
Your loophole has a bunch of flaws.
So that's
with the Jew tunnel thing. I read one thing that said like the leadership of that synagogue group, whatever that is, they said some young radicals, they threw them under the bus or just said like, yeah, we weren't aware of this. We're mad at these guys. But like, again, these are just little bits and bobs I'm hearing. And like, I'm still confused as to who built them. What was the purpose?
Who could be done? Sure, we're gonna kick him right in the gashnuggana for this.
But yeah, like it's just so strangely mysterious.
We Jews don't need one more stereotype.
So that right
in our
there
name.
is the wall on Egypt. One of them. There's two going back. So that's how they do their walls over there.
Oh yeah.
Those good thing they're not racist.
Because everybody knows the Egyptians are clearly trying to commit genocide against the Palestinians, because that's literally the only reason you'd build a wall like this.
So Davos has been going on right in the middle of all this stuff. I got all sorts of weird stuff from that, of people declaring that they're going to completely eliminate carbon from certain countries. They said farming and fishing is ecocide.
Oh,
Jesus.
That tracks.
You want to see that? Here you go. Want to see it? Want to see it? Here it is.
Ecocide as a word is becoming becoming better known around the world.
Oh, no, I don't want another word.
Of nature, but legally speaking, what our organization and other collaborators aim to do is to have this recognized legally as a serious crime, because one of the issues that we have a cultural, very ingrained habit of not taking damage to nature as seriously as we take damage to people and property. And that, I mean, if you're campaigning for human rights, at least mass murder, torture, all of these things are serious crimes. But there's no equivalent in the environmental space. Unlike an international crime like genocide that involves a specific intent, with ecocide, what we see is actually what people are trying to do, what businesses are trying to do is make money, is farm, is fish, is do all of these things that are producing energy and so on as well. But what's missing is the awareness and the conscience around the side effects, around the collateral damage that happens with that. Legally speaking, what our organization and other collaborators aim to do is to have this recognized legally as a serious crime. Go fuck yourself.
That's such madness. But it's also kind of funny. I mean, it makes sense because, she's clearly some kind of neo-Marxist, and we all know how the Marxists feel about arresting farmers. They love that shit.
Oh yeah, fucking kulaks.
There's like 15 different quotes that have come out of it this year that are just
the new thing. Is that the
no? They also talk about getting rid of carbon completely and all that sorts of other stuff. Klaus Schwab got up there and said we need to get away from the idea of personal individual rights and just think of collective rights. He just got up and said that. I mean, they always have all of these quotes that you can just like listen to them and read them and see them, but you're a crazy conspiracist for listening to them and hearing them. And it's not like there aren't all sorts of world leaders there at it, you know, like John Kerry's there. All the tons of different presidents are there, you know. Actually, Malay was there. A lot of people were like putting up these memes. That's why I showed that meme at the beginning, because he actually got up there and told them that they were nuts for their collectivism. If you see his speech, he gave a speech at Davos and told them to their faces that they were full of shit. That's why Elon made this meme. I shared it earlier. Ooh. Oh, that's the wrong one. This is a funny one though too. This is the same meme, but they put general authorities there in the laptop. But Elon shared this meme as he's watching Malay speak at the World Economic Forum, where he was telling them off that their socialism was full of shit, and everybody got crazy for his thing there. But that's all going on. I keep getting advertisements for this, and I haven't watched any of it, but I think I should download and watch all of it. I get advertisements all over Twitter for this. OnlyFans comedy from comedians of OnlyFans.
Oh boy.
What?
Yeah, and it shows like it's all a bunch of different girls like have channels and stuff like that. I don't know where the rest of them pop up, but OnlyFans comedy. Yes, I get advertised for that. But the world's stupid still. Do I dare show this? Jared sent this cartoon about the thing that he disagrees with Jews on. Here it is. I showed it anyway. What do you think they're doing down there? Probably just ordinary stuff.
Okay, but who doesn't disagree with the Jews on this? Like, who? I think most people just don't really know about it.
Well, it's kind of funny because, like, just out of like all fear of anti-Semitism, you can't say anything bad about them or anything like that.
Yeah. Oh, because that's the thing is like, but I know that within the world of Judaism, that like probably the people that are most suspicious of the Hasidim are other Jews, like secular Jews. Because for one thing, they're probably closer to it. They know. Because again, that's one of those things. Like you think about the Sams and Karas and Delins, like, you know, they talk about how evil Mormonism is, but like they have no idea what the Hasidim get up to. You know, like last week I talked about the special underwear that you buy to like when your wife is finishing her period. Because the rabbi interprets the stains and can tell you if it's okay to have sex with your wife again. Like that's real life.
This guy mentioned, we brought up Hawkish Owl. We brought up that tweet last week. We showed it where the guy demanded an apology from everybody.
Yeah. Man, like talk about like that's got to be one of the biggest wins ever. It's like
I know because I'm like, who wouldn't think you're crazy though when you're saying like, I keep hearing Yiddish under the floorboards? What the fuck?
Like so, it's like if it was just some total stranger, I'd be like, okay, you're obviously a kook or some kind of anti-Semitic nut job. But even if you were my friend, like if I knew you, and I'm like, you're telling me you're hearing Jews under the floor. But like, it's one of those stories like, wow, truth is stranger than fiction.
Troy says, if we're headed to dystopia, I want Brave New World over 1984. I've heard a lot of people argue which one's actually happening more than the other, but
I would prefer Brave New World because then at least you get to fuck everyone and you get drugs. Like it's
you
more
get the
pleasant.
victory gin, the greasy victory gin and saccharin tablets. Sounds bad. I'll take the Soma.
Yeah.
Troy said Jared's imitation of a rabbi made him laugh so hard he's crying. So I want to wrap up with something that I make sure that I add in every episode, and it's with autistic boy heroes.
Autism will save
It's kind of
us
one of the
all.
things. I'm always a champion of super autists because they're all so freaking cool. The stuff that they do with their life. But hold on. Have you guys seen that kid who broke Tetris?
Yeah,
I only saw the story. I didn't actually watch.
Got a blue screen, but there's this technique. There's this new technique that all these autistic kids figured out in Tetris. Have you seen that?
No.
Oh, I think I read about it, but again, I didn't look into it. I just read the BBC article.
Hey, what are you doing with that controller there?
Huh? Oh, I'm rolling.
You're rolling?
Yeah.
What's rolling?
So basically, in NES Tetris, players would originally hold down the left and right to get pieces further to the sides, right? Then eventually they started tapping super fast to go from left to right. But the human limit caps at around like 15 times a second, as you'll find the fastest humans are. So apparently Cheesefish invented a technique where you'll put your thumb on the D-pad and push the controller into your thumb to register an input. Do you hear that?
Yeah.
So basically, instead of just using one finger, you could use 5 fingers to push your controller into your hand. So if you do it really fast, it looks like this. So you're pushing the controller into the D-pad to get 5 rapid inputs.
Right. How fast can you get with that?
I can get about 20 to 30 times a second.
30 times a second?
30 times a second.
Just from moving your fingers?
Yep.
Dude. Yo.
Jeez.
I love autistic dudes. They're the best.
Man, that's crazy. Did
Yeah.
you watch? I just watched the speed running history of Zelda 2. Did you watch that?
No, did that just barely come out?
I think it's pretty new.
I know it's all glitched. I think I might have seen that one. It's a.
Yeah.
I mean, it's they do it by glitching screens and jumping.
Oh yeah, no, like that's one where they like they talk about how like you have to do stuff that is just so ultra level that because like yeah, they totally break the thing. They show people like walking through walls and you have to like jump in the exact right space. It's all completely bonkers.
It's so
But,
insane.
yeah, like
That's
but
why
they beat it in under 15 minutes.
Oh my
You ever see that kid that beat the Ocarina of Time and he was blind?
No.
That was wild. He got like this
blindfolded.
special.
There's blindfolded Mike Tyson. If you ever watched that, they figured out how to beat Mike Tyson blindfolded.
Well, they had to get him this special like thing on his controller to where he could tap and it would save exactly where his wait, is Troy saying my guy's a liar?
Oh,
What?
Billy Mitchell. No, he's talking about Billy Mitchell.
Billy
Oh,
Mitchell's
okay.
a liar about the records on
Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong.
So I just heard
No,
like
so
so.
he would
Troy,
save it.
he just settled. They just settled the lawsuit, and it seems like is it a win for him because, like, I mean, he's a fucking
It's a win
liar,
for
right?
Billy. If you watch
Well,
the whole documentary, the King of Kong documentary, and stuff has happened.
No, because I'm
since
just saying.
that.
I think that just recently there was news that like whatever it was, like because he sued the people for defamation, and apparently they settled. So I wonder.
Maybe just because the court case would cost too much.
Yeah, I wonder, but like, I mean, it's still because it looks good for him because say, hey, look, they settled my case. But because like what I've seen on him, like it seems like the guy is just a liar. He's a fraud, and he's
Oh, he's
caught.
absolutely a liar. I couldn't believe that he even got away with trying to pass off some of his records. I mean, there's no way in like those summoning salt videos they would allow some of that stuff to count as records. Oh, I just secretly did this at my home, and here's the screen.
Ooh, yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Oh shit.
Yeah, watch the King of Kong documentary. Although stuff got crazier since then, you could do like a whole second documentary on it.
That's a little like it's been a little while, but that I went down that rabbit hole like a year or two ago.
And there's
watched
multiple
hours of
rabbit
stuff.
holes for it too.
Yeah, that's true. It's just amazing. Like the fishing, like last year, the fishing cheating. We're just like, yeah, there's nothing.
Oh, that was
nothing.
That was wild.
I want to end off showing a Saturday Night Live clip with with the who are those guys?
Hans and
joke
Franz?
rock band, the joke rock band from the 70s. What's their names? The
I don't remember.
Oh yeah, you remember the guy? It had the
Rebels?
Simpsons guy in it.
Spinal Tap.
Spinal Tap, yeah. There's just a funny clip that they played on Saturday Night Live, and it was like on bass we have Carrie. What's his name? Carrie.
Oh yeah, no, I think that was like on double neck bass on
Then
bass
on double neck
synthesizer.
bass, and then on synth bass, and then on other bass, and then on lead bass. And all 5 of them
Yeah.
are playing like super bass. And it's funny stuff. I think that's about it. I'm a little crap, but it's no big deal. Just political crap, man. You think Trump's gonna take it all?
Man, that's funny because I'm enjoying watching the left wing media just twist around themselves.
Oh, guess who Richard
But-
Spencer?
Oh yeah, you were saying I interrupted you earlier.
Guess
Who's he?
guess who he endorses? Just guess. I want to hear your guess.
Well,
Joe
I mean,
Biden.
It was Biden last time, but you're making it sound like it's different.
It's Nikki Haley.
Oh,
Oh, really?
Yes. He said,
So
well,
the
he
white
says,
supremacist Nazi, the brown woman. That's
and
the
she's
one.
like the most Zionist bomber there is, and whatever. Like, that guy is for sure some sort of weird fed. you know.
Yeah, like that's the thing. It's like, is he even relevant? Does he have a thing still?
I'm sure in some
Genuinely, I
circles he
wonder.
is, but
Yeah, I just kind of wonder, like, where's his movement? Who are the people behind him? I have no idea.
I don't know. I don't even know where people see him these days. Maybe he's back
Yeah, that's
on
the thing.
Twitter
Yeah,
or something.
another thing is, like, if he'd never been punched in the face, no one would ever know his name.
No.
yeah, that was a fun argument to have with a bunch of people.
Oh yeah, no, I lost a friend over that one.
Yeah, I got a friend that messaged me after years. I hadn't talked to him, and he's like, "Hey, can we talk about this punch a Nazi thing?" And I was like, "Sure." He's like, "You really think it's not okay to punch Richard Spencer?" I was like, "Yes." I feel very comfortable saying that.
It's really, really, really not okay to answer
Time
political.
where if I commented anything on Lindsay Hansen Park's channel, which was the what was it called, the Feminist Mormon Housewives,
Yeah.
somebody else would say, "This is Chris Hanna. He says you shouldn't punch Nazis." They'd say that right
Yeah,
underneath
I
my
do.
post.
I mean, if we're talking like World War II and you're like fighting a war with Nazis, then go ahead and punch them, shoot them,
Not-
whatever. But like first off, these people aren't Nazis. Richard Spencer.
Yeah, no, that's the other thing. Like in that clip of Richard Spencer, it's him saying, "Well, I'm not a Nazi. In fact, Nazis hate me," and that's the last words out of his mouth before he gets punched. And then everybody goes, "Ha ha ha! This Nazi got punched," and I'm like,
Yeah, the bigger issue is like their concept.
not
of
even a
calling
Nazi.
everybody
Yeah.
a Nazi, so then they're allowed to punch everybody supposedly. But
Yeah.
this is what I'm talking about, the practitioner's veto, the stuff going on. These guys are just announcing out loud what they scream at their top of their lungs is fascism if Trump does
Yeah.
it. A network of public interest groups and lawmakers nervous about former President Trump's potential return to power is quietly devising plans to foil any effort on his part to pressure the U.S. military to carry out his political agenda. They are announcing that they're planning on a coup. That's a coup. That's a coup
Yeah.
d'etat, straight up.
That's what that is. No, they're
Yeah.
saying so. I just got another argument with my dad about January 6th.
What does he think about it?
Kind of the normie take. Just this whole thing is
Oh,
like,
really?
like, why? It's an insurrection. Why are they okay with this? And I was like, this whole thing. Like, I'm constantly have to remind my dad, like, actually, nobody is okay with this. Like, everybody on the right, anybody on the right had to say is riots are stupid and always wrong. People who broke the law deserve to be punished. Like that was all anybody conservatives had to say about January 6th. Then all they had to say is Trump didn't incite it and it's not an insurrection. Like that's all they say. But the part where like rioting is illegal and you should punish rioters, that's the real message, which is why the left has to lie about it, because they are okay with riots. They're actually okay with insurrections. They're okay with shutting down governments. They're okay with fascism. They're okay with all those things when they do it. Oh,
Then Greenwald says Nikki Haley is an unholy union of the worst traits and beliefs of Dick Cheney and Hillary Clinton. The reason the political media establishment is so desperate she's the GOP nominee is this is how the choices offered by the 2024 election can be minimized to almost zero. That was what Vivek's claim was, and a lot of people think he made a mistake right at the last second by announcing voting for me is voting for Trump, and that just pissed off a lot of people. And that was kind of like a bit of a weird message. Like,
yeah, it is
how do you say that when Trump's also in the caucus?
Yeah.
But what are you doing? He dropped out of the race and he's endorsed Trump.
Yeah, I had a friend at work tell me that
DeSantis and Nikki Haley, who I don't know which one of them would win
I had
out.
a friend tell me that
Trump did get moved out by the lawfare. But
the friend at work was talking about the debates or whatever, and I made fun of Chris Christie, and he's like, "Oh, he's like the best one." I was like, "What? What are you talking about? Why?
What?"
And he's like, he was the only one up there that disavowed Trump. And I was like, okay, I'm not having this conversation.
I saw Dave Smith rant on that because he said he bravely backed the position of the CIA, the FBI, the mainstream media, the universities, the corporate.
What
media.
a maverick!
He's the only one who
salute me for having the popular opinion.
What's that
Yeah.
called? Where the other Nazify everyone to the right of them, repressive tolerance. Yep, that's Herbert Marcuse. The right must not, anything from the right must not be tolerated. Violence from the left must be tolerated.
Yeah.
It's weird that if Trump is such a huge problem, the best option to replace him is Biden.
Well, that's the thing that I mean, from 2016, I was saying is like part of like the whole leftist obsession with Trump that got me is like, aren't you guys just tacitly admitting that you can't do better? Like that's part of my issue. It's like you guys think like all these horrible things, like, oh, he's stupid, and he's got a horrible sexual history, and he has no experience, and all the blah 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 blah. It's like, and the Democrats can't do one better than
you
Donald
should be
Trump.
able to beat him easily.
You should be able to find one person better than Donald Trump, and you couldn't do it.
Like we're gonna go with Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
But at the same time, on both sides of the stuff, no matter where it is, I mean, they can like enact their things and move it through the ranks and do their sorts of deals. But the practitioner's veto is how stuff doesn't get done either way. I think Trump's whole 4 years was almost just an entire practitioner's veto.
Yeah.
First off, they tried to jam him up with all the lawfare that they did then, and they would just do the same. They would just do. I almost sometimes think they might like him better because they were able to do more wild stuff, acting like freedom fighters, than they were just in power. So
they had no restraints during those 4 years.
Everything ratchets left. Cthulhu swims left, wrapping it all up with a thing. If Trump gets in, the left goes crazy and gets what they want. If the left gets in, they go a little less crazy and get what they want. That's our options, folks. So, but anyway, I gotta walk this crazy puppy.
Charlie dog. Oh, did you see my name? I thought my name was clever.
Oh yeah, TK Smooth. That was pretty funny. Reminds me of JB Smooth from.
That's exactly right. Yeah, JB Smooth. I thought about that
From,
this week. I laughed to myself.
The new season's coming out. I hope that one's good.
Yeah, no,
February
it's the
4th.
last one ever. Because I mean,
They said it's the last one. I didn't see that announced anywhere.
Makes sense because Larry David is my dad's age.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Damn.
my dad's what year is it? My dad's 78.
Holy crap!
77. Yeah,
and he's still going.
Yeah.
I was rewatching that and I got through 1 or 2 seasons and then I kind of fell off. I got to keep rewatching it and catch right back up and coast into the start of the new one. So
yeah.
All right, everybody. Keep up
Bye-bye,
the
Charlie
keep up
dog.
the diets. Keep up the fat unacceptance. Keep up the suffering through the winter. Tell us what's going on with Mormonism. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye.